All right, this is Millie Weaver, and we are on CPAC Day 3. This is CPAC 2022. I'm here with Chris Bish, who is a congressional candidate in California. Now, Chris, tell us which district you're running in, and what are some of the policies that you're running on?
Okay, well, I'm in Congressional District 6 in California, which is Sacramento County. And we're running on an America First agenda. I know it's not popular amongst the elite, but it's the right thing to do. I'm a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, freedom of speech, just a warrior in California. I'm taking on the governor of California. Harmy Dillon's representing me in a case against his unconstitutional mandates. We're taking on election integrity. I'm also in the Ninth Circuit fighting over election integrity in California. We're fighting the mandates and what they're doing to children in California. I'm a warrior, and it's just been an amazing ride. We're meeting people, and one of the jobs I've taken on as a top of the ticket candidate is recruiting candidates across the country. So we actually have a friend of mine who's running in Minnesota against Ilhan Omar. And I've got congressional candidates that I've recruited in Minnesota, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and then down ballot people running for assembly and school boards. We're working on recalls. I was one of the people that helped implement the recall of Gavin Newsom in California.
Okay.
I am just a warrior.
So you said that you're running on like an America First.
Yes.
Platform. So what does that mean to you? What does America First mean to you?
America First, it's more than just freedom of speech and our constitutional rights. It's about bringing our manufacturing back, that California, not only California, but the United States, that we be absolutely self-sufficient. And that means our energy. It means essential goods, our medicine, medical devices, our baby formula right now. How we feed our children is coming from China.
Oh, wow. That's not good, right?
Not good. Pet food, we keep having recalls because we're finding melamine in baby food, in pet food. This is the most prosperous, natural resource, rich continent.
What would you say like the number one issue is for you that you want to tackle if you do get elected?
Education. Right now, we have a population in this country that it does not have the basic education to support the next generation. We are in record debt, and the children are being turned out of high school. We don't have classes for skilled labor. We've got kids coming out of high school without the basic ability to read and do simple math. So this is something that we can use at the federal level to help change education across this country and prepare the next generation to assume the staggering debt that we are putting them in now.
Okay, so, how do you feel about the critical race theory being taught in the schools? Also, what's your stance on like a voucher system or a way for parents and students to have more school choice?
Okay, so I'm actually a proponent of the school choice initiative that's going on in California. My real estate company is a drop-off and pickup location for the school voucher system. I was actually the Sacramento area director for the Educational Freedom Initiative back in the early 2000s for Dr. Milton Friedman. CRT is a way to indoctrinate and to push kids down. We need to inspire them and find what is special about every child, every student. And this is part of the dumbing down of America is CRT. And it's replacing our history, our English, our math, our science.
Yes,
and that's the indoctrination. But there are things that we can do very simply. I do have a plan that put forward to start addressing this immediately, and when sworn in, day one, I will be whipping votes and finding sponsors for education bills. My goal is to be on education committees and start fixing education, and that is going to be the key to restoring America and putting America first.
All right, well, where can people find out more about your campaign?
You can find me at bishforcongress.com. That's BISH for Congress.com. And I'm so confident about my platform that I'm actually giving everyone my personal cell phone number. So if you want to run for office and you're not getting any help, I won't run your campaign, but I can get you started. So my personal cell phone number is 916-223-1765. If you want to run for office, you think you want to run for office, call me. Me or my staff will help you directly. That is my personal cell phone. Text me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter or at bishforcongress.com. Now, this is an expensive run, so if you can pitch in and help, I need your help to run this race. I am a grassroots candidate. I am a patriot, and I'm taking on the system, not only in California, but across this country. So even if $5 help, and you can go to bishforcongress.com. It's BISH for Congress.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
you for
you.
your
Nice
time.
to meet you.
All right, guys, so stay tuned. We will be right back momentarily with another interview.
All right. Thank you, sweetheart.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, so we're here with Timothy Rampton.
That's right.
Correct?
Are we on already?
Yes, we are. We're live.
Holy
We never
smokes.
even ended the feed, but we're just going to keep going and going. And
Thanks for
changing
squeezing me in, by the way.
Absolutely. So tell everyone about yourself.
Well, I'm the school board member for Wisconsin School District. I am the seated assembly, in the legislature, the 59th Assembly District, and I'm also the gubernatorial candidate for the state of Wisconsin. One of the things I've been working on the past 15 months of my life is the closure on conspiracy, conjecture, and mystery regarding the 2020 election. And the problem I ran into is we did find fraud. We did find reason to be concerned. And I put together a presentation, 71 slides on my Representative Rampton legislative website that shows all of the information we have that shows the fraud. We have the mechanism, which is the resolution to reclaim the electors for Wisconsin. I'm the only legislator in the entire country that put forth the question to say, we had fraud in our election, fraud vitiates everything, we're going to pull back our electors to hold some way and people and process accountable for what happened. That's currently being reviewed in Wisconsin. It has the possibility of being acted upon. We have to have a legislative session to do that, and I think the legislative session is over, but there's still activity going on in Wisconsin as well as other states in the country to do that very thing, because fraud basically occurred in all 50 states in our country in 2020.
Wow, I mean, see, this is what we need. We need more people, we need more politicians that will actually speak the truth and not be, afraid of the political backlash that they might get from the establishment. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're talking about election irregularities. We saw how many like Republican rhinos, they kind of about-faced after January 6th, and they didn't want to touch on all the election evidence and the witnesses that were coming forward. So that's great that you want to tackle those issues. What are some of the top policies other than tackling election fraud, which is very important? What are some of the top policies that you're running on?
Well, everything ties back to election integrity, because wrong person, wrong role, wrong time results in the consequential situation of having that occur. I'm right person, right role, right time. It's Tim time for the gubernatorial role in Wisconsin. Other elements I'm working on that are priorities. Everything's a priority for me, by the way, but if I had to name 8 or 10 of them, I would tell you medical freedom is a huge issue that we have to address and get the rights back to the people and allow them to keep their jobs, allow them to, whether they want to get jabbed or not by something that's not a vaccine. It's emergency youth authorization therapy drug at best. Education, not indoctrination, is a big thing for me. Government accountability is a big thing for me. Transparency and truth in government. Government should work for the people, not for itself and not for members within government. It should be of, by, and for the people, which is what I am. Backing the badge, backing first responders, backing fire departments and our veterans. These people give of themselves every day. The veterans gave of themselves. They were called to duty they served. We owe them a lot. Pro-life. Pro-life. Life begins at conception, no exceptions. And life is a gift from the Lord, and the Lord, we don't want to mess with that because the Lord will mess with us. So I'm real big on pro-life. The other thing I bring to the table is because I'm part of the legislative body, I know what works, and I see what's functional within the process. I know what's dysfunctional within the process. And so when I'm surrounded by individuals who do not have the courage to do the right thing with election integrity, I don't have much choice. I have to continue my push to resolve issues, not just election integrity, but these other elements. And I don't believe it'll happen very well within the legislative body, so I have to try something different. So I basically have no choice. They forced my hand. I didn't intend to run for governor, but as I travel the state and speak about election integrity issues, they adore me outside of Madison. I mean, Madison's upset with me because the constituents are mad at their representatives and senators because they're not like me. That's my fault, apparently. Conversely speaking, when I get away from the Capitol and I get out into Wisconsin and in the communities, rural and otherwise, they love me, they adore me, they all say you need to run for governor. So in a way, a big way, because I'm grassroots, because I'm patriot, because I'm GOP county chair, their candidate of choice, I'm going to run for governor because they want me to. So I'm sacrificing my position as a legislator for them, to run for governor for them, so that I can continue the effort to do the right thing of, by, and for them, the people. So I'm sacrificing. I'm going to work 24/7, 365. And I did mention a couple of things of interest regarding priorities, but I want to get things done. I want the dated issues addressed. I want the new issues addressed. I want everything to come for discussion, debate, and action, and then what's next. I'm about getting things done. So results with Rampton, Tim Time, I'm the guy that's going to make a difference, and I'm going to probably be the best governor Wisconsin ever had. So the way you can keep in tune with me is not just rep.rampton at legis.wisconsin.gov, which has my package of information about integrity, but my campaign is www.ramptonforgovernor.com. And we're very interactive. We put updates on there regularly, very open and transparent. Communications, two-way street. These are servant roles, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a school board member, if you're the President of the United States, if you're anything in between, these roles are to serve the people. They're servant roles. And so I don't think anything prestigious of me being a school board member and being a state representative, and I certainly won't think of anything prestigious being governor. They're servant roles. I work for the people. So I'm a doer.
And that's the thing, like, oftentimes it seems like some of these politicians, they forget who they represent, and really and truly, I think it's because they represent lobbyists, they represent big businesses, and they're not actually representing the people.
Yep.
We need more representatives that represent we the people, the little guys, right?
That's what it's all about. And those people, when I announced 2 weeks ago today, by the way, at my program started at 11 o'clock, if I remember right. It was Mike Lindell was there. He endorsed me on the spot. General Michael Flynn called in, endorsed me on the spot. I had Ivan Raiklin was there as a speaker. He endorsed me. Dan Eastman endorsed me. I've got a lot of support in the grassroots. The state, basically, in the last 2 weeks, exploded with euphoria that I'm in this race.
Right,
so the grassroots, the patriot groups, people are just absolutely ecstatic that I'm in this race because they know about me. They know what I do. They know I work for them. So the big machine is out there. I'm not the establishment candidate. I don't pander for money. I don't pander for votes. I'm going to give this opportunity to the people. Their voice has a chance to be heard here. And if they come through and in their numbers and come and represent themselves by voting for me to get me across the finish line for them, they win. They win.
Right.
And I'll be there for them 24/7, 365. And you can take that to the bank.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Timothy, and good luck to you. I really hope that you're successful in your campaign. I hope you become the next governor of Wisconsin. That would be amazing.
Well, praise God from whom all blessings flow. I'm a called servant. I'm going to give it a shot for the people and for him and be obedient. And if it's his will, it'll happen. If not, I get to stay home and play with my cat.
There you go. You get to play. What's your cat's name?
Well, I got 3 of them. But Rambo and Socks and Penelope.
Oh, I love that. Penelope. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Timothy, and good luck to you. You guys, we got to be supporting patriot candidates. If we're going to drain the swamp, if we're going to replace the rhinos, we got to support real American patriot candidates. So look more into Timothy Rampton and look into him, get behind him. If that's, if he passes your test, I think he's a good guy. I've talked to him. I know a lot of the people that have endorsed him, and he seems like a real patriot to me. So, guys, get behind patriots.
Right person, right role, right time. It's Tim time. Make it happen. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I'm out of here. Right?
All right, so stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back. We have another interview lined up with, I believe, Tyler Hansen. Right, and we're live right now, so we're just kind of like cycling through, guys. All right, so we're back here with Tyler Hansen. Now, Tyler, you are also one of the people that really has a handle on January 6th. I mean, look, guys, you know how much research I did on January 6th. I put out Psyop to Steal, the documentary, very in-depth. Most of the times I talk to people about January 6th, they don't really know much of what I'm talking about, but I talked to Tyler, and he has a really good grasp on it. He knows a lot of stuff I know, and he even knows some things I don't know. So what's interesting here is we can kind of put things together surrounding January 6th and really kind of get a full scope picture of what exactly happened. So, Tyler, do you want to tell them a little bit about some of the projects you're working on right now?
Absolutely, yeah. For the last year, I have been, investigating just nonstop ever since documenting the death of Ashli Babbitt. That's kind of what set it all off. And the most recent project that we've been working on, we were investigating the 5 deaths that took place that day. So Benjamin Phillips, Kevin Greason, Roseanne Boylans, Ashli Babbitt, and then Officer Brian Sicknick. And what we've kind of come to the conclusion of within our investigation with our video evidence, multiple eyewitnesses, we've talked to well over 300 eyewitnesses just this past year that are going to be instrumental in really breaking down this case. And a lot haven't even been released publicly or anything, kind of holding the ammo, ready to shell it out. But the last story that we did is we did a walkthrough of every single death and disproved the official narrative from the medical examiner and the media. And we actually provided enough evidence to, concrete say, fully confident we haven't been sued for this. So, they're very quick and easy to sue these Capitol Police, but they won't sue us for a reason. Right. And this story proves that all 5 people that were killed that day, including Officer Brian Sicknick on the next day, were at the hands of the police.
Wow. So let's kind of go through, if you want to go through some of these. We know Ashli Babbitt, she was shot and killed by the police there, which, it's kind of alarming. Like, we're in such a day and an age where there actually have been proven government conspiracies, right? They like to demonize people as conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat, just because we point something out here, but then when it comes to be true and it's vindicated a couple months later,
critical thinking is not allowed.
Yeah, they don't want to acknowledge that. But Ashli Babbitt, everything that I've seen, evidence-based, she really was shot and killed. I know there's some people out there that they question everything now, to the point where they're questioning, was that a false flag?
And it's understandable, with how much how much lies and how much indoctrination the media has just pushed onto the American public. It's understandable to question that. It's understandable, especially an event that large, and then the officer is cleared with no internal investigation, nothing, refuses to cooperate. So I can see why people, go that route. is because
Right.
they're not given the proper information that they need.
And it was very suspicious how they completely covered his identity for this period of time.
Yeah, well, I had to release his identity. It was on February 14th on Valentine's Day, after January 6th, that I actually came public with Michael Leroy Bird's identity. And I mean, this isn't the first time he's had, incidents like this. I mean, in 2019, one of the things that actually led me to find him and get his name is he left a Glock 22 loaded, no safety, in a Capitol bathroom stall. And he said, quote, "I will be treated differently because of my rank as lieutenant." Wasn't punished for it. Maybe if he was actually punished as, a real law enforcement agency should work, some accountability, he wouldn't have been there to shoot and kill Ashli Babbitt that day.
Right. I mean, it's alarming because the way, the video footage, he's standing off to the side. You can clearly see she doesn't even have a visual on him. She doesn't see him.
She had no idea.
He's totally off to the side, kind of tucked to the side, hidden, and he has his gun drawn, and she just gets lifted up by these really weird, obscure individuals that there's multiple of them. They're all acting like a cell.
Yep.
We saw the helmet hole man,
Zachary Alam.
right, and how he literally had 3 different hats that he was swapping between.
Oh, and he was everywhere that day. Where Derek was pushed, Derek Vargo, the man that was pushed off the wall, he was there. He was there when Benjamin Phillips was hit by a smoke grenade, a concussion grenade. He
Right.
was everywhere. I mean, throughout
Yes.
that day, and he was always the one instigating, always the one breaking things. And one of the other stories that we broke recently is we did a frame-by-frame breakdown of Sam Montoya's video of Ashli Babbitt being shot, and leading up to it, you actually see Zachary Alam breaking the windows, and we transcribe the audio, and you can hear Ashli Babbitt, yelling at these police officers saying, "Call effing help, call somebody. This is our house, we're allowed to be here, please get help." Because they're breaking these windows, and she served in the Air Force as a military police officer for 14 years. She knows the rules of engagement. She knows how this stuff works. She knows how to be a cop. And it seemed like it was visibly frustrating her, especially when John Sullivan got these cops to shift over and they completely abandoned posts. That's kind of when she kicked into overdrive. And in the frame-by-frame breakdown, you can actually see her say something to Zachary, and she squeezes in and grabs his backpack by the right hand and pulls him and punches him in the face and knocks his glasses off. And then 7 seconds later, she goes through the window. So really, it seems like what she was trying to do is she understood that the cops were not being any help. She was begging them to get more help so they wouldn't breach these doors, and she hopped through that window so she could safeguard it from anyone else coming in.
I mean,
and that's what it really appears to look like.
Right. I mean, well, I don't know. We don't know what her intention was at the end of the day.
Because they shot her.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's dead. Right. But here's one of the things. Zachary, okay, how he has the 3 hats. He's swapping between a MAGA hat,
normal.
a black helmet. What was the other one? He had 3 different hats basically, and then right after she's shot and killed, he scuffles himself back down the stairwell where you can see on the camera footage, he goes behind the police as everyone's attention's drawn on Ashli Babbitt because she was just shot and killed. And then he starts taking his backpack off and changing. I mean, this is not normal.
No, it's not at all. I mean, this is
imagination.
someone that's experienced at agitating, someone that's experienced at infiltrating these movements. And there's actually a video that not a lot of people have seen. It's right as he's recovering from being punched in the face, because he was about to go through that window, and he said so himself. And he sees her land on the ground after the shot rings out, and he realizes that is the girl that just tried to stop him. And I can only imagine what's registering in his head at that moment. But I mean, he looked terrified. He didn't understand, and it all came together at one moment that he was partially responsible for that woman's death, and then he just lost it. And then he immediately went down and started to change. So it was really weird behavior.
I don't know. It was bizarre. I didn't really see any emotional response or reaction on his face at all. I just saw it. It looked like he did what he needed to do. He went straight down that stairwell. He started, with his backpack getting changed or whatever, and then he just kind of exited.
And one thing about Alam that not a lot of people know is, we've been talking to a lot of the January 6th prisoners, a lot of the people that are in solitary confinement still, I mean, we've probably interviewed well over 300 people January 6th, just that have been detained and charged. And a lot of them were saying, you know, he had actually talked to 2 specific people within the prison because he was in the DC Gulag originally, and he was telling people that, you know, he was Antifa, he's an agitator, and he's, you know, basically there to disrupt riots, and he gets paid for it. And then the next day he gets transferred out. And this is just irregular occurrence is what they do. Anyone that you're seeing that they're just transferring out is because they don't want them commingling with these other prisoners, and then these prisoners understanding what actually went on.
Right, and I mean, the whole thing just reeks of a setup. It really does reek of a setup. To what level, you know, it's hard to say, but what we can kind of piece together is that they knew that these agitators, these people were intending to come. They let it happen. Nancy Pelosi, the DC Metro Police, they could have done things. They could have had more police guarding it. They could have fences. They've done that for virtually almost every other event.
Well, yeah, Millie, I've covered riots nationwide. I've been, you know, almost every state covering Antifa, right wing, left wing. It doesn't matter. I've covered just about everything. And I come from a family of law enforcement too, and I have never seen police action or police inaction like that before in my entire life. And one thing I've always said since day one is you do not walk into one of the most secure buildings in the country unarmed unless you're allowed to. And then that's where the magnetic locking doors come in. They have mag strips every single capitol across the country, and this capitol is actually built with extra mag strips. And there's a video that was released where, you know, the guy's going to open the door and he's signaling and he looks up to the balcony and points at the door, and then all of a sudden he's able to open it. So who opened the doors from the inside?
Exactly, and you can even see in the video footage where some of the security and police are opening the little barricades and
waving people in. Yep. Well, and the amount of selfies that I saw people taking with officers, you know, shaking officers' hands, telling officers that they love them, is this entire narrative has been completely hijacked and misrepresented since day one. And I would argue, I mean, nearly 99% of the violence you saw from the right or from, you know, these supposed Trump supporters, it was self-defense. And if it wasn't, it was these agitators that were placed here, and they're very easy to spot. You know, they're not very good at what they do.
And what we do have to address and talk about is there are, you know, right-wing groups within the conservative movements that their leadership have been compromised.
Oh, absolutely.
FBI informants, turned out into FBI informants. There's definitely some weird, suspicious stuff going on, and it's our job as journalists and whatnot to investigate these things, but we also had some pretty good sources coming forward from some of these groups coming out and kind of tipping us off and pointing us in the right direction. I know you've talked to some of the same sources I have, but I mean, it's alarming to see that you literally have this, like, the John Sullivan, James Sullivan brothers filming a Netflix documentary.
It's a psyop. Well, and I actually, that's where I started my journalism career. I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
Right.
It's I lived in Utah, and John Sullivan was actually, he only lived a few minutes away from me. And that's kind of when I got my first taste for what Antifa was like. And it was incidental when I did, and I was attacked. You know, I pulled up, never interviewed anyone in my life. I was actually just riding downtown, going to my car dealership because I was a car salesman at the time, and I had a GoPro. It's like, yeah, I'll jump out and interview people. There's a big rally. It was right after George Floyd died. And then I ended up having guns pointed in my face, and I was attacked because I interviewed the Proud Boys first, which I didn't know who they were at the time. But then he had Antifa come and push across the street, and then that's when I got interested in John Sullivan's group, Insurgents USA, began going kind of undercover, blending with them. You can't say undercover nowadays, or the feds don't like that. And yeah, no, it's, you know, John Sullivan, I was there in Provo when his buddy essentially shot a man that was driving because they accused him of trying to run them over. He was trying to go to the hospital. And then he ended up in the hospital anyways because they shot him.
Yeah, I mean, and there's like this common theme with those two where like one brother is leading and setting up the Proud Boys protest while the other brother is leading and setting up the BLM protest. And then they're like they're kind of clashing these two groups of people.
Well, and all you have to look towards is his dad. Is their dads, honestly, is, you know, he's ex-Navy intelligence, complete psyop. He is quite literally in the experience, I mean, in the field of creating psyops, and successful ones at that. And it's the perfect psyop, if you think about it, is you have a left-wing anarchist, right, an agitator on the left that is pro-abolish the police, and then you have the right-wing that's fighting for American rights. So either way that the tides turn in this political atmosphere, you're going to win. You're going to end up on the winning side.
Right, and so there's just a lot of really weird, bizarre things surrounding January 6th, and the main key thing here is notice how the narrative control shifted. Like, they shifted the entire narrative away from the election fraud topics. I mean, at that time period, the news was just, they couldn't ignore it. Everything was about the election. Everything was about the election fraud evidence. So the whistleblowers, the witnesses coming forward. You had Rudy Giuliani hosting these amazing hearings, right? And you had all these people coming forward, like Melissa Carone, all these people. And what they were talking about that day on January 6th was that, you know, they had agreed, and the agreement was that they were going to send the slates of electors back, and then they were going to conduct an investigation and have hearings to let the evidence come forward, the witnesses come forward. And then when January 6th happened, the whole narrative flips.
Well, and think about how ridiculous that would be too, right? We spend all this time trying to get people to object to the verification, the certification, and then you storm the Capitol when they're supposed to be objecting and defending your country. Is, you know, it was perfect timing, and I mean, you did amazing work. No one has done as great work as you with the pre-stage. I mean, you were the only one that was on that with Lisa Fithian and the rest of the crew. I mean, it was, and it still isn't getting the attention that it deserves. I mean, they quite literally planned it out months prior, and nobody's talking about it.
Right, that is the alarming thing, isn't it? Because I would expect that the left-wing media wouldn't be talking about it, but why are so many silent on the conservative side?
It's for a reason, and it's the same reason that, you know, you have a select few people that control the entire narrative, and they're misleading people. I mean, people are being misled by the right every single day, and I would honestly argue, and it's very sad, but the right is more misleading than the left. At least the left comes out and says what their position is, but the right, they say one thing, and then behind closed doors, they're doing a completely other thing.
Right, I mean, and I think the problem is like the conservative Inc., Rhino establishment kind of crowd within the Republican political sphere, right? And so you have like Lindsey Graham, the Mitt Romneys, all those people, and some of them we kind of like, while Trump was president, we kind of started to maybe trust a little bit that they were somewhat on, obviously not Mitt Romney, right? But okay, maybe they're somewhat on, you know, Trump's side and on the side of the people. But then we see how, you know, they flip that narrative. January 6th, they all say, oh no, we just accept Biden, and we think that everything should just be put aside. It should all just be, you know, not talked about. And then they start the January 6th committee, and you know, the people they're investigating and going to hearings with are literally just like the people surrounding Trump. It's a political witch hunt. They're not actually subpoenaing the real people that
and they aren't releasing transcripts either. Why do we not have the right to see what they are talking to these people about? If this is such, you know, this is the worst thing since 9/11, like Biden and Harris say, why don't we see these transcripts? If these people are terrorists like they're telling us, why are you not releasing these terrorist interviews? Don't you think that we as the public who, you know, have been conditioned to be scared of these people because they're domestic terrorists, why aren't you guys releasing that to us if they really are what you say they are? And especially the Ray Epps interview. You know, they talked about how they had talked to him once, and then the next time, you know, about a week later, oh yeah, we actually didn't meet with him in person. It was a virtual thing. But we're gonna depose him, and then they come out and say, yeah, he did nothing wrong. But then you have people that didn't even go on Capitol grounds that have been arrested, people that have done far less than Ray Epps, that are, I mean, sitting in solitary confinement, that are being abused in these prisons.
Right, because the reality is yes, there were some conservative groups that participated in January 6th, just as there were Antifa cells dressed in black bloc. I mean, the reason why we don't see them being, you know, identified as much, other than the person like John Sullivan we know, is because they knew to wear all black.
Well, and they know what to do as well, and a lot of them, I mean, they were in Trump gear. The good majority of them, I always recognize people from Portland. You know, I have videos of me saying, oh, hey, you're from Portland, I recognize you. And then they, you know, kind of, you know, I'll look this other way and walk this way. And, you know, I was recognizing people from Portland left and right, and I have multiple videos. You know, I actually, in one of my videos with Elijah Schaefer, we're doing an interview, and, you know, concussion grenades are going off next to us and hitting us, and I'm like, I say, you know, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You have Antifa and Trump supporters in unison right now, working towards the exact same cause and the exact same thing, you know, both against this entire establishment. I said, I've never seen this before.
Right, and you know what was really kind of alarming, which I kind of touched on this a little bit in PSYOP the Still, the documentary I did, where I talked about some of the color revolution, iconography and things, and symbolism, and how if you notice the Antifa, their colors are what? Red and black,
and red.
right? Which is like communist anarchy, right? And then some of the groups that you typically see associated with like Proud Boys and others, what are their colors?
Well,
Yellow and black.
Yep.
And look that up with the color revolutionary stuff. That's like I believe it's like liberal, like libertarian or whatever. Capitalist.
Yeah, the middle, the middle ground.
Well, no, they're like capitalist, anarchist.
Okay.
Libertarian.
Yeah.
Anarchist.
And then the third one is the one that's right in the middle.
The middle one is right in the middle, because what's the blend of red and yellow? It's orange, which is mutual anarchy. And so if you notice, following with the Ukrainian revolution, right, they had election discrepancies. They had people protesting election there. The people all with the Ukrainian uprising were carrying orange flags, okay? And then if you look at the people that were there, the right-wing groups, the Proud Boys even, right, they were there. What did they have on them?
Orange.
They had orange pieces of tape, orange bands.
Well, and we've never gotten an answer to what that was. Nobody has ever made a statement. The FBI hasn't came out, the DOJ, nothing. We have never gotten any answer at all to what those people were doing that were wearing orange tape. And the thing is a lot of the people that had the orange tape on they were the ones in the formations.
Yes.
They were the ones leading people in, and it really makes you question.
They were the ones pushing through the barricades. They were the front of the line. They were in the photos. Like, these were the people that on the supposed right-wing side that the left-wing media is attacking all of the Trump supporters over. These are the ones. And one of the things, like, I looked into and I've been researching out was, Alexander Akbar. Alexander Akbar, okay? That guy right there, he was like the orange man in essence, in a way, because he would tell all his followers to put orange squares.
Yeah, he adopted the color.
Orange squares by his name. On January 5th, he wore all orange, like orange head to toe. So there was like this movement of some of these individuals inside the right wing that were like orange, right?
Yeah.
So what was that for, right? Because usually Proud Boys don't wear orange, but some of these Oath Keepers guys, Proud Boys guys, were wearing orange. So I guess that's
exactly.
The question.
Well, and I don't know, anything about Ollie Alexander's involvement, if he was involved or anything, so I won't comment on that. But I will say is that, even with the orange thing that picked up a year prior to January 6th. That was pushed. Everyone had that. Even I had the little orange emoji.
Well, sure, people can get duped into
putting pictures of the orange squares up and stuff. And, it's just, there's so much that goes into every single side of this.
Right.
It really makes you question who's telling the truth? Because you never know, which side, whether it's the left that's more accurate, the right, the middle, and it's getting to a point of where it seems like no one is telling the truth nowadays.
Right. I think the problem is that, people I think there's a lot of people that innocently, they'll be like, oh, cool, I want to go be part of this, like maybe the Oath Keepers, right? Because you have good intentions and you think that everyone needs to...
and you look at their call to actions on their website and it seems like a very patriotic, straightforward group.
It probably started out that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably all started out with genuine people, and then the problem is you have the FBI conducting illegal operations on American citizens and going in, trying to infiltrate these groups, then trying to compromise people, then trying to turn people into FBI informants. We know with the Gretchen Wheeler thing, how, the whole, kidnapping plot.
And the majority of them were FBI, assets, and they actually were the ones that pressured them into it. I mean, they were the ones that did all the leg running, everything.
Absolutely.
And then they only charged the ones that weren't there, so.
Exactly. So that is how it works. It's not that, it's not that I'm saying that the Proud Boys are all bad people or the Oath Keepers are all bad people. No, I'm not saying that at all.
But they've been infiltrated.
I'm saying that there's a problem because the FBI sees these groups as targets. So what do? They infiltrate and they try to steer in order to steer it into a trap or steer it into the narrative that they can then control. Yeah. And you better believe the FBI is compromised as hell. We saw that with
everything.
The Russia collusion investigations, people leader stroke. We saw how the FBI is, at least the very top.
And the thing is they've always been this way.
Right.
They just haven't been so open about it. I mean, and now they just get cheered on from the same people that were saying, defund the police a year ago and burning cities down. Now they're saying, oh yeah, you go round those terrorists up.
Right.
And it's really crazy to see. I mean, it's a mass psychological operation that's being played against the American people right now. I've never seen something, the size of this before. And, they're dragging it on, and that's why I've been hitting on, January 6th so much, is because people that weren't there try and do the investigating. But a lot of people, that were there get completely silenced. And it's like, why are you silencing the witnesses? Why are you not interviewing witnesses? Witnesses are where the story's at. Right. And, ever since we started talking to witnesses, it has just opened the entirety of the truth up to us. And it's like, wow, this is, completely the opposite of what we have been told. And another thing about the feds implanting people like in, the Proud Boys, because that's been proven, the Oath Keepers, that's been proven, is I actually got some new intelligence last night from a good Department of Homeland Security friend of mine. And it looks like they're doing the same thing to the America First movement, is they are trying to co-opt it because they understand that it's becoming effective, it's attracting more people every single year, and anything that, is pro-America, pro-American ideals, or pro-nuclear family, they don't want it around. Right. So they're quite literally placing people in every aspect of our life.
Yeah, this is the MO. They want to try to, and this is also to try to steer the groups and demonize them, right? So it's an attack on the American people at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And we need to have more accountability, more oversight of these organizations like the FBI, right? These agencies that think that they can just do COINTELPRO operations. And look, this is not new. They've been doing this for a while. They even did their COINTELPRO operations on the Black Panthers, on many of the
and
Black
it's very well documented as well.
It is well documented. So this is it's a trick in their toolbox. So why the heck would they not use it? And then when you see these things happen in real time, like you were there at January 6th, you saw this happen in real time. You saw how everything just kind of
It was the weirdest riot I have ever been to. The weirdest protest, because it was, like I said, I've covered, riots, whatever you want to call it, countrywide for over a year and a half before this, and I have never seen people act that way. I know what an agitator looks like. There's agitators that get planted in Antifa. Not a lot of people talk about that, but there's agitators in every group.
Right.
And there were so many agitators that day, and especially along the front lines, I would say they probably outnumbered the people. As the initial line, it was almost all agitators. I have pictures and videos of, a journalist from Portland that I recognize and confronted, setting up a photo op with another Antifa member from Portland as well, where he's attacking the police, spraying the police, ripping barriers down, and then the next thing I know, those are some of the featured pictures the next day with the whole insurrection narrative. It's like, there you go, they're setting up photo ops. And then if you saw the pictures, Capitol Police, there was a bunch of them up top just taking pictures with this huge lens cameras and taking videos, and that's where, and then HBO, for some reason, they got exclusive rights to the Capitol. They were there before anyone was. They were all set up in just the perfect areas where Michael Fanone was supposedly dragged and beaten and tased, and then they kind of left out the part where, the crowd picks him up and surfs him back and essentially saves him.
Right. How effective do you think the media has been at controlling the narrative surrounding January 6th, given this current climate of censorship, deplatforming, blacklisting on social media?
I think this is, the media, I think this is the most effective they have been in years, and people should be terrified over it. People should be doing something about it. That's the reality of it, is if you're going to let them run with this narrative, you are a terrorist. That's the reality of it. And once you get branded with that, it's over. It truly is. Is you have to fight back. But I have never seen a media narrative so effective. Even to this day, people don't understand what went on. And then the right doesn't help with that either, is they don't push back. Certain people on the right are scared to talk about January 6th. They're scared of the repercussions. And I just say, grow a set of balls and do the right thing. Tell the truth.
Right. Some of my research has kind of led me to believe that, and kind of see this pattern that we're kind of going into this era with, Joe Biden and Ukraine, right? And notice the similarities with January 6th, Ukraine.
Exactly.
We had a lot of the people that participated in January 6th, they also participated in Ukraine. And now some of them, like you were saying the other day.
John Sullivan.
You were saying,
he's actively posting updates on his YouTube channel from Ukraine. And if that isn't an asset, I don't know what is. Why are you in, a foreign war zone?
Right.
How did you get in? And I would assume his father, because we all know how well connected he is. But it really makes you wonder, and I've talked to multiple congressmen about John Sullivan, and they all think the same thing, is they are 100% content that this guy is working in some sort of capacity with a federal agency.
And not to mention how weird it was that literally, like, they arrested him, and then the next day they let him go.
Yeah.
And I actually ran into him on the side of the street.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Like, how the heck is he back out? He was
I remember when you released that video.
So I went and like, hey, I heard him over the phone talking and stuff, but it's just like...
Yeah, well, and then one of the witnesses that we both talked to, and one of the, not Fed informants, but one of our informants, that undercover video, talking to him. I mean, and that was damning. He had talked about multiple things about, I did this, I did that, and then, his live stream itself was damning enough. Him breaking a window, telling people he has a knife so we can get to the front, and then, of course, that's in the room where Ashli Babbitt was shot, so it really makes you wonder, how involved in that was he? How involved in the agitating in that room was he? Especially when I'm sitting right next to him, and I didn't even realize it at the time, and he's telling these cops to leave, they're going to get hurt, and I didn't know who he was, but I stepped in front of him and talked to Officer Yetter, and I said, hey, don't worry, if, I'm a journalist. I said, I'm going to stand here, you're not going to get hurt, it's going to be okay. And then you could see Yetter, he was covered in capsaicin powder, he was scared. And John Sullivan was the one scaring him. And then they magically shifted over, and that's when Ashli was shot.
Right. What do you think about how January 6th has now been used to demonize mostly anyone associated with Trump? Now the media narrative is to call anyone and everyone associated with Trump an insurrectionist. Are we going into like a reverse time period of like the McCarthy days? With the McCarthy days, they talked about communism, and they were pointing out the communists.
That was the boogeyman.
And it was the Red Scare, right? But now it's like, are they going to then come and direct something similar onto conservatives?
I think what we're seeing, and Tucker put this very well, is the War on Terror 2.0. Is everything that we have done as a country and as an intelligence, all our intelligence agencies, is, we, in the Middle East for 20 years and longer than that, that's exactly what we're going to do here in America. It's finally hit home soil. They're going to treat us like they treated the Iraqis, and that's the reality of it. And WMDs, we all know how that went, and that's really what this is setting the stage to it. And we saw with Canada recently, with the trucker convoy, is they did the exact same thing. And there was actually an article released just recently that, I don't remember the exact source, but I'll have to get it to you later, and it's talking about how the Capitol Police after the 6th essentially had this big old press conference sit down with a bunch of different countries' police officers and told them how to handle these situations. And one of those countries was Canada. And then you got the Ottawa police, running people over with horses, abusing people, arresting people for no reason, and it really seems like they're taking notes from, the Congress's personal Gestapo.
Yeah, it's very tyrannical. We've never really seen anything like this in like a Western developed country that's supposed to respect freedom of speech and the right to protest.
Well, I really do believe that this is the rapid fall of the empire. I do. We've been around for quite a while, and we're a fairly new country, but I feel like we're getting to the point where we can call ourselves an empire. But not anymore. China doesn't respect us, Russia doesn't respect us, no one respects us, and they tell this to our face. You cannot talk to us, from any point of view because they don't care.
Absolutely.
And they're not willing to do anything for this administration unless it's pay them money for special interests. That's what China loves this administration because they're soft on China. And we're really seeing, the co-opting of America, and it's pure Marxism. This is what's happening. Is I always say history doesn't repeat itself, but it stinks. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. It's very obvious that this is a Marxist uprising in our country, and it's not just on the street, it's not just these protesters, it's within all our federal agencies, and this is really where it's taken over. It's spread to schools, it's spread into every aspect of our life. You can't even go out in public or go on your phone without seeing, state-sponsored propaganda without even realizing it.
Right. And that's the thing with the way, if you look at study history with these communist revolutions, the Marxists, whenever they're doing their revolution and they're kind of in that like early / middle stage of their takeover, they're denying that they're communists the entire time. Like over and over in history, they will deny they're communists. They will deny that they're Marxists or socialists until the very end, and after they've seized power, and then they start enforcing their communism, and then that's when they come out and say, yeah, we're communists.
Well, and look what's going on now is, you know, they hid and hid and hid and hid for the longest time, and we are at that stage, and that should alarm people, is that these people are openly saying, you know, we are trained Marxists, we are communists, we're socialists, you know, this is what we want. And nobody's pushing back on it. You know, and the GOP messaging is always the same, oh, you know, beat these radical socialists. It's like, how about you save your country? If you guys actually care, I mean, I'd argue that the GOP is worse than the DNC right now because they aren't standing up for their own constituents. They aren't standing up for anyone except their paychecks.
Right. There's a serious problem with compromisation in politics, and so we got to root out the swamp creatures. Now, what I will say is, you know, I know a lot of conservatives, especially someone like you, who, you know, you do real reporting, you're getting this information out there to the people. We've all been being censored. We've all been being shadow banned. You know, tell us about how your experience has been on social media with trying to get the truth out.
Yeah, well, after January 6th, I was banned off of every single platform except Twitter, surprisingly, and that's due to the video of Ashli Babbitt being shot and killed. And prior to that, I had been, you know, censored heavily because of my riot coverage, and they said, you know, Summer of Love, this ain't actually happening. But after January 6th, I mean, I remember not growing. I was at, you know, about 67,000 followers after January 6th. And then the next day, I mean, within hours, actually, after the event happened, you know, I had dropped down to like 44. I was like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. And then no engagement, you know, you're getting 2 likes on a post or something, and then you click the engagement, doesn't even say anyone is viewing it. And, you know, I had to create all new social medias so I can get it out. And ever since then, I've been completely locked down. And a lot of the information on January 6th is we've had to facilitate it behind the scenes and give it to bigger sources because we just don't have the platform to make it trend anymore. You know, we have to put it in the hands of people that we trust and that we know can push this out and get something done because they've essentially just completely tried to silence us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And are we surprised that they're censoring and silencing us when literally... Look at like Twitter, Facebook, all these big tech companies. Okay, even Apple, Tim Cook, Google, Sundar Pichai. Do we really have any options other than tech companies that are literally owned by communists?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I would argue big tech is one of the most powerful institutions in the world right now. Right. The fact that they can control the internet in real time, that is alarming, and that should scare the hell out of absolutely everybody. How are you going to fact check war propaganda in real time? How are you going to see what's going on in the world? You don't, because, you know, with the Google manipulation search results and everything, and no one likes to talk about the fact that the CIA has open contracts with Google and with, you know, all these email companies and everything is, they're always watching what you do, and especially if you're a truth seeker. I mean, I am on my 4th phone since January 6th. I get coded messages. You know, I've had a lot of my old CIA contacts that haven't thrown me under the bus yet, right? Or haven't given me the journalism award. And, you know, they've all said the same thing, is they'll reverse trace the IPS and ends up in either Langley or ends up at the FBI headquarters. I mean, and you think they would be smarter than this, is they essentially try and download a malware on your phone. And when they do and it's not consistent and it doesn't download proper, it'll throw you an error code with a link. And that link is just the error code. It has a few, you know, IP addresses in it. And if you click on it, your phone will completely collapse. And you will not be able to use it. Your battery life. I mean, my last one that I got, it was a brand new iPhone 12.
Don't be clicking on those links.
No, I don't. Don't click on those links.
Yeah, no.
I clicked on one on my last iPhone 12. And, you know, on accident, because it just popped up, I was texting. And it immediately turned my phone off. Wasn't able to turn it on for a day. You know, and then my phone finally turned on. And a full charge battery would last me about 30 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah, and my phone is slow, everything. They drain absolutely everything. And, you know, they're not hiding it. You know, and the other day I actually had an officer, well, what I assume was an officer, pull up in an unmarked truck, and David Summerall was outside my house. We're actually about to go interview a January 6th detainee on this huge story that we're about to release. And conveniently, you know, right as I go inside to grab my tripod, this guy in an unmarked vehicle pulls up and starts rummaging through my trash as fast as he can. And I live in an apartment complex, so it's like, you know, the trash man doesn't come until Saturday. This is a Friday, so who the hell are you?
Exactly.
And he got in his car and dipped tail right as David ended up seeing him. And it's like, who are these people that are invading in my life? Who are the people that are parked in the street in unmarked, you know, Ford Fusions with tinted, all blacked out windows? And who are these people? and you know exactly who they are.
It's the shadow government.
And that's the thing is I'm very grateful for that. At the same time, is a lot of people, ask like, oh, that sounds terrifying, and it's like people don't understand that I am willing to die for this narrative. I'm willing to die for the truth because it is the most important thing right now. If you let them win the January 6th narrative, this country is over.
Right.
The right will never win a single thing again. We will be censored. We will be killed by the government, as they already proved.
Right, and the censorship is only going to get worse.
Oh,
guys.
only, yeah.
It's only going to keep ramping up because they have to maintain absolute control of the system, control of information, and they do this by censoring people, kicking people out. I mean, there's been so many people that have just been banned off of so many platforms that we used to know their names and we used to see their content all the time, and now they're gone. Where can people find you at the time being before you get banned or censored?
Yeah, before, right?
Yeah,
Eventually.
where can they find you right now?
So right now you guys can find me at Taylor USA. It is Tayler, not OR. It's how you're supposed to spell Taylor. Taylor USA, and that'll be on my Twitter, and then my Substack where I've been writing articles recently. These big investigative pieces. That's where the 5 death story and the Officer Sicknick story is, and that's TaylorHanson.substack.com.
Right, and this is why we're here sitting literally at a QUX TV box booth at CPAC right now, because we take the seriousness of the censorship very serious, because journalists like Tyler, he can't get his information out if he's going to be being censored and banned and shadow banned and having to worry about what he says, or because he could be banned for that on these various platforms. So QX is just literally, it is the new replacement for your Apple TV, for your Roku, and soon it will be the replacement for your Android Google phone or your Apple phone, which all spy on you, collect your data.
They have contracts with the CIA.
They literally do. Google is the CIA practically.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay?
It was created by the CIA.
Exactly. So do you really want everything you do to be spied on and watched? If you don't, if you're a sane human being, QUX, get your QX TV box and you can watch whatever you want to watch, and they cannot watch you watching it. I cannot stress the importance of this, because we are going into this era with social credit score systems. They're already doing it in China. Do you remember when China used to walk around with the face masks on because they were all worried about the avian flus and their SARS that they had? And then now here we are in America where everyone's walking around. I mean, it's only going to be a matter of time before we're in the social credit score system. You don't want them having all your private information just readily available so they can mine it and store it. So
exactly.
I hope to see you in the future on QX.
Yes.
And get yourself a portal, definitely. And you guys, make sure you follow Tyler for more updates on his reports, because man, his reports are kicking butt.
Thank you, Millie.
He's doing great on January 6th coverage. All right, Tyler, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to be right back in like 1 minute. I've got my next interview lined up here. Who is it? All right. Yeah, we're live right now. We're just kind of cycling through. All right, guys, thank you for holding there for a second. I've got so many of these interviews just back to back that we're just kind of keeping the live stream going.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we're here with David. Now, David, you were telling me about a documentary that you have planned to come out about January 6th.
Yes.
What is this documentary, and what can we expect? Like, what's different about it compared to some of the other January 6th documentaries?
So the first one we put out was called Writing History, RIGHTING, to make it stand up again, the journalistic battle of January 6th. To show people that it is a journalistic battle. It wasn't what they thought. It's been taken and bastardized. The whole meeting, I know you and Taylor just covered a lot about it, but part 2 is going to be rewriting history, and it just fills in all the gaps. We covered, back in June when we released it, we covered the deaths, we covered the flashpoints, we covered the police brutality toward the people who started it. We just showed a timeline, a chronological video of 37 minutes, and it took you through the whole day. It takes you in the moment. If you weren't there, you watch it, you feel like you were there. Guys that were there that watch it have flashbacks. They're like, dude, that is just like It's amazing. We synchronize the videos, we show multiple screens, and it just gives you an idea of what the people experienced, the chaos, the mayhem. And the way I explain it to people is, you know, they all say it was unfortunate that it turned into a riot. And I say it never did. It never did turn into a riot. And people that use those talking points need to consider this.
Right.
What you witnessed was self-defense. That's a lot different. When we went to protest, and we have the video that shows people go all the way to the front, and they're standing there saying, this is where we make our stand. This is where we redress our grievances. This is where we're not BLM and Antifa. Please don't bomb us. Please don't spray us. And the cops throw hand grenades deep into the crowd and kill Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason in the very beginning. Wow. We see the crowds spread every which direction. We see the chaos. And from that moment forward, it was a self-defense opportunity for us because we didn't run. We're fight, not flight.
Right.
You know, we went there to be heard. They attacked us. The last thing we're going to do is run away. We're here to be heard. You can't do this. And when they would throw grenades, you'd hear the majority of the crowd go, boo or yay, because it was just...
Well,
from there, it didn't seem.
You have to ask yourself, when you have a massive crowd of people there, we know tensions are high because it was a very controversial election, okay?
Yeah.
And when you know that you don't have riot police there, you don't have any type of preemptive measures or barricades or fences, which remember they didn't have it because Nancy Pelosi turned it down.
Yes.
So why do you think that they would then throw tear gas canisters into a crowd of people when they're not prepared to handle a response from that crowd of people?
This is what I have called from day one, choreographed chaos. You can plan for failure, just don't plan for success. Listen, I got there before the speech was finished, before Trump finished. We filmed Ray Epps and everybody else standing around the circle when there was less than 100 people. You know, we were there early. And, you know, to see those 5 cops, and that's who's going to hold back thousands of people that were just there initially, not the tens of thousands of people that were behind them.
Right.
But you see thousands of people coming up to these poor 5 or 6 cops that are just spread out. And they're no battle gear, no stick, no helmet, no shield. And that poor girl got tripped backwards from the gate and hit her head. If they'd have given her a helmet, she'd have been fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's no protective gear. But what happened is people have to consider it was not just the election, for one. For two, nobody knew they were going down to the Capitol until Trump said, hey, when I'm finished talking, we're going to go down peacefully and protest and make our voices heard.
Yeah, but notice he said peacefully.
Peacefully.
We're going to peacefully go protest, which we have the right to do. I know Canada, Trudeau, they want to demonize protesters.
This is a great point. This is a great point. If we have the right to protest a grievance like that, then they can't charge us for picketing or parading. Do you see where I'm going? They've got so many people on charges for picketing, you know, for waving a flag, for march. You can do that. It says in that you have the right to picket, protest, do what you need to do.
Right. The First Amendment lines that out.
That's it. That's it.
Freedom of assembly.
So people went to be heard, and it wasn't just the election. It was COVID. It was the lockdowns. It was the businesses. It's the schools. It's the mask. It's Fauci. It's all these things. And we had a certain sense of bravado because we really thought that Trump was a shoo-in. And then when we see there's controversy and we think this is our utopia, this is our freedom that's literally our freedom that we worked so hard to build and grow. So it was all those things combined. It wasn't just, you know, they say, oh, you went to overthrow an election or to stop an election. No, we just went because we needed to be heard. We had the right to redress a stolen election, what we believe. And listen, if you want to believe the moon is cheese and you're the king of England, you know, whatever happened to freedom to be crazy? I mean, we can have our opinion if it was a stolen election, but you can't kill us for that. And what people have a hard time, look, we went to protest, we were attacked. That's the long and short of it. We defended ourselves, and a lot of people lost their cool. That happens. That's the reality of it. Now,
well, you know, it's also like this. Nancy Pelosi, the Capitol Police, they turned down reinforcement. Trump requested it.
Intentionally.
They turned it down. So what are they doing? Literally, they turned down.
Wait a minute.
They turn it down and then they throw the tear gas canisters into the crowd to incite them?
They turned down the bathrooms first. You remember? You remember they did not let us have porta potties in D.C. The mayor said no porta johns. So people are like, we're dying already. And you start throwing grenades at people and stuff. I mean, I know they're two different issues, but
They're like, we just wanted to use the bathroom.
I just came to see if I could get in and use a john. But no, it's sad because they intentionally and they said that no munitions like that were authorized that day. They did not authorize concussion grenades. And that's what they got on the witness stand and said, no, they were not authorized that day.
So then why aren't those officers that threw the concussion grenades, why aren't they being held criminally for inciting violence, inciting a riot?
Let's go simple. How about just improper use?
Right.
You threw them down into a crowd and killed people. You should be reprimanded. Okay, call it an accident. You should still be reprimanded. If it was intentional, you should be charged. If a boss told you to do that, he should be charged. I mean, this is where there's a chain of custody on who you're hurting and how. So we know Kevin and Benjamin were murdered. They weren't gotten A. We know this story. Roseanne was beaten to death. It was not a drug overdose. And we can go through all the details, but what we need to do is back up and say why.
Exactly.
Is it just the election? Is it just the control? Or is there a long, deep plan that we're not even thinking about that's really simple? And the way I look at it, look, I've done Stop Hate for 30 years. This is my 30th year. And we started during the LA riots. And we saw that the media was trying to divide people by race.
Yeah.
They're trying to do the same thing. Listen, they're trying to get the black vote back by saying that we're white supremacists.
Yeah.
They're trying to get black people to say, that's those same racist guys. This is our chance, because Trump took them off the plantation.
Absolutely. So where can people find out more about your film? And is your film going to cover these topics?
Absolutely.
So you'll have like video footage of these things, documenting it?
And in interviews, if we want to make two versions. The 37-minute one was just short. It was for a presentation I was doing, and I made it short. But we want to do an expanded version with just video. We don't narrate it. We don't tell the story. We show you and let you go there and experience it. But the longer version, I want to do the interviews that we've done for the last year plus and get these witnesses. Tommy Tatum, Troy Smocks, these people. Troy just got out of jail. Troy just went before the committee yesterday, the J6 committee yesterday. Nobody's talking about it. He's the only black guy that went to the gulag and stayed for a year until they finally had to let him go. And he's got a declaration by the men inside. They all wrote a declaration. They all signed it. It tells their story, what their intentions were, why they went. Nobody's asking them. The lawyers are saying, don't talk to the public. We got you. We're fighting for you. Don't talk to anybody. Don't write letters. Don't be... And they're like, we can't get our story out. We're going to go away for 30 years, 40 years, because you won't let us tell our story. Here's our declaration, signed by every one of them. It's an amazing document.
Well, definitely.
It's amazing.
I mean, I can't wait to watch your documentary, because it sounds like you have a lot of really good video evidence documented. You've got a lot of interesting interviews coming up in your documentary.
Yes.
Tell people where they can find your documentary.
StopHate.com. The 5 death story is first, and you scroll down, you'll see writing history with an R. And we're avidly trying to figure out how we're financing the rest of this film. You know, it's not free.
Right. So where can people find you on social media then, if they want to follow you, maybe help support your
Absolutely.
Your
So
production?
go to StopHate.com, follow us. There's all our listings. Twitter, I'm Help Stop Hate. Instagram, Make America Stop Hate. We're just trying to show people that this division that the government is creating, it's no longer about red and blue. It's literally about good and evil. It's about our children. It's about so many more things.
America or communism.
That's exactly what it is now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David.
Thank you so much. It's great to meet
And I
you.
can't wait to see your film.
Thanks for
Definitely.
seeing it.
I'm going to watch it for sure.
So here,
All right, guys, stay tuned soon. We're going to be right back in about a minute with Sunny Joy Nelson.
News and Observer.
All right, guys, we're back with Sunny Joy Nelson.
Hello.
Sunny, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I know we've been trying to set it up for a few days, so I'm glad it's
Yeah, so how are you enjoying CPAC? I saw that you've been kind of doing some stuff over there at the Getter booth.
Yes, CPAC has been awesome. We've had so many people stop by and ask us about Getter and set up accounts. We've had about like half and half people coming by and saying, I love Getter, it's like my new favorite platform to use for social media, and then half saying, can I come make an account?
Right,
so
right.
we've had a really great experience here of new users and current users.
Yeah, I mean, the censorship issues plaguing the conservative movement right now are really serious. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I've experienced demonetization on YouTube. Like, you can try to search me on Twitter, and it's like you can't even find my name.
Right.
When you search Millie Weaver, and I have a blue check mark next to my name still, somehow, by the grace of God. I don't know. Maybe I just slipped under the radar.
They haven't removed that yet.
Right, but like, I mean, what do you think about the censorship and how it's been affecting speech and getting true information out?
Well, I think they've been doing it for a long time. You know, we've seen, when I first created a Twitter account, I don't even know, I was like probably 15 years old. And as I started getting more involved in politics, I just kept seeing, like, I'm not really getting that much engagement. You know, I used some of my tweets, like, would not be performing very well, and I was just like, something is not adding up here. So I think the social media companies, specifically Twitter, has been doing it for a long time. They've been censoring, they've been shadow banning, using their algorithms to make sure that your voice isn't getting out there. But what we saw, and you know, this goes without saying, when they banned President Trump, the sitting president of the United States, that's when everything, you know, went crazy.
Right, definitely.
And everybody says it, but I'll just reiterate it. If they can do it to a sitting president, they can do it to you, and they can do it to me. They do it to both of us. So it was finally time that we stand up and say, you know what? Let's do something different. Why are we still going with this when they're doing it on purpose to us? They're removing our messages pretty much. So we created our own platform, and we've had huge success with it.
Definitely. And you know, that's what the leftists said. They said, oh, you don't like it? Build your own platforms. Learn to code.
Yeah,
right?
so we did.
So there you have it. I mean, and this is what's beautiful. Like, I'm really excited this year at CPAC 2022 because as I'm like walking around, I'm seeing all these social media startups. We're here literally sitting at the QUX booth, which is a technology company startup.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing this innovation and it's motivating people. So I guess if there's something like a positive coming out of the negative, it's that you're seeing people taking action, building their own platforms. And these are platforms created by people who are patriots, right? That they love freedom of speech, they value freedom of speech. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see that Getter's here.
Yeah, it's great. And I think, you know, I love seeing the conservatives get involved in all of this movement because I think the leftists in Silicon Valley thought that they were the only ones that could do this.
Right.
Create these huge platforms, and we've seen that's just not true. I mean, Getter, we have 5 million users now, and what's really interesting to me is Getter is actually the fastest growing social media platform in history because when we launched on July 4th of 2021, we had over 1 million users sign up in just 3 days, and that's faster than any other platform. So I think it goes without saying that Americans are getting very tired of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram slapping them with a label or shutting them down just for having a different opinion than what their fact checkers say is accurate.
Right. I mean, we're tired of the censorship, not only the demonetization,
exactly,
but the targeting. Like, they've been targeting and going after people's advertisements, trying to get advertisers pulled away. I know Breitbart, like, they were targeted by that, by a big push from some of these leftist organizations that literally, they go seek out their advertisers and get them pulled. I mean, we are being targeted as conservatives for speech, and it's alarming. So, I mean, I'm happy to see that we've got all these conservative groups coming up. I mean, what do you think is in store for 2024? I mean, Trump hasn't yet confirmed that he's going to run, but I mean,
he keeps saying everybody's going to be happy, so I hope that he runs. I would love for him to. I worked on the 2020 campaign, and I mean, I think all Americans who are seeing right now how terrible life is under Joe Biden, I mean, what I say is you can hate Trump all you want, hate his tweets, but you can't honestly tell me that your life is better today than it was 3 years ago, because that just can't be true. So I think we've got to get through the midterms. I think the midterms will be great for us, for the Republicans. I think we'll have a huge red wave, as everybody is saying, and hopefully Trump will make his decision soon and bring us back, because we need it. We need some help.
Right? I mean, we've got like exorbitantly high gas prices. We have even the cost of food at the grocery store has gone up.
The supply chain crisis. I mean, this is one thing that I like to post on Getter. I say I like to, but it's actually depressing to post, because anytime I'm at Walmart or the grocery store or something, it never fails. There are aisles with empty shelves. And so I always take a picture of it, because I don't want this to go without people talking about it. So I always ask people, hey, if you're at the grocery store and you see it, send it back to me. And the amount of interaction that I have had from people is insane. It's affecting everybody all across the United States, and that's not something that we as Americans should take as, oh, it's just the new normal. You just get used to not having things. No, this is America, and you should demand the best.
Yeah, and like, what is with the double standard though? Like, if this was happening under Trump, we would never hear the end of it.
Especially everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. We would never hear the end of it. The thing is, the leftists and the liberals, they wanted Trump to fail. I don't want Biden to fail, because it affects me. It affects my pocketbook. It affects the food I eat, everything. So, but yes, if this was happening under Trump, it would be wall-to-wall coverage of how terrible of a president he has been.
Absolutely. That's a really good point, because if the president fails, that means we all fail. We all suffer because of it. I mean, as much as it's like, okay, look, it's so blatantly obvious that the Biden policies are the direct result of all of these bad things that are happening in the country right now, and we can point it out and be like, look, see, you guys were wrong, right? It's not a good situation, because we're suffering under it.
Absolutely.
None of us are excited to pay large amounts at the gas pump. I know you guys probably definitely aren't. I'm not.
No, it's horrible. And I hope that people will really just stop and think and examine their lives when it comes to the midterms coming up. Before they vote, I hope they stop and think, let me set aside any of my old preconceived notions about what I think about Republicans, what I think about Democrats, and just look at the policies. Look at the policies that Republicans have, look at the policies that Democrats have. Which one of these sets of policies is going to affect me in a better way? And I think if more people would do that with Trump, then they would really realize they like him so much more than this like sad just platform that the Democrats have for us.
Right. I mean, so you worked on Trump's campaign. You're like versed on campaigning and everything else like that. What do you think? What do you think people should do if they want to try to help Trump in 2024? This next go around. Do you think that, given like the current atmosphere politically, that Trump has a good chance of winning in 2024?
You know, I hope so, and I think a lot of people have woken up since then. I think people probably didn't vote for him because they didn't like his Twitter account, or, you know, his strong personality and his tweets did not bother me at all. But I like strong leaders, and that's something that I look for. But really, I think for 2022 and for 2024 going in, something that I have realized as I'm involved in this that's so important is the grassroots part of it.
Right.
Because when you work on the campaign at a national level, it's so easy to get wrapped up in things that's happening nationally, like what's the news saying, all the national things, but the grassroots part of campaigns are so important, and I think we saw how important local elections are too. So I really encourage all of you to not skip out on your local elections. Please vote in your local elections, and I just really encourage everybody to get involved.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Earlier this week, Scott Pressler was on, and he brought up a very good point and said that we also need people to be working the polls.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So there's eyes on the ground if there's any funny business going on, and just to have people there as a checks and balance. You know, we need people volunteering.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw a lot of that with 2020 of poll workers reporting weird things going on, and that's something that I hope there's an investigation about, and then we can get to the bottom of from the 2020 election. But yeah, Scott does a great job of rallying people on the ground to get involved at local levels, and even state and federal levels.
Awesome. All right, Sunny. Well, why don't you let people know where they can follow you, where they can find you for the time being until you get banned off those platforms? Possibly.
Yes. Well, I don't use Twitter anymore, but you can follow me on Getter. That's GETTR. Please download it. Come join us for just a free speech platform where you can share your political opinion without the fear of being banned. And you can follow me at Sunny Joy Nelson. I am also on Instagram too, but I don't use Twitter anymore.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sunny.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
All right, guys. So stay tuned because right after this, I'm going to be back with Ivan Raglan.
All right.
Oh, is it? Okay, never mind. I'm going to be back with Eric Early. Sorry. Okay.
Real easy.
All right, so we're back here with Eric Early.
Hey, what do you want me to look?
All right, so Eric.
You want me to look at you or the
right here.
Camera? All right.
All right, so we're back with Eric Early. Eric, you are running for Attorney General, correct?
Yeah, I'm running for Attorney General of the state of California.
Okay, so I was talking with you a little bit yesterday, and I mean, you really have some serious plans to drain the swamp in California, which that's a massive undertaking. I mean, how do you plan to go about this in California?
Well, California is, I don't know if I could say a shit show, but California is a shit show right now.
Right.
That's where I live. I call it the belly of the beast many times, or at least Los Angeles County, where I'm from. I'm speaking up and down the state. I got a great campaign team. I ran against Adam Schiff in the last race, against that pathological psycho. We had an incredible campaign. But I run a great law firm of about 30 lawyers. I'm managing partner. We do major case all around the state. One of my great clients these days is One American News Network. And my wife and I have 4 kids, 3 dogs, and a cat. We don't need this politics in our life, frankly. But we do this because we know that really we're under attack internally. And I know so many of the people here at this conference know that, but unfortunately so many people in the country don't know that. And as Attorney General, there's a lot I could do. As the Chief Law Enforcement Officer and Chief Legal Officer in the state of California. And government corruption is a huge issue out there. Gavin Newsom's been issuing multi-billion-dollar no-bid contracts in violation of California law. He's been using the emergency powers he bestowed upon himself pursuant to the pandemic to do that. He still won't let go of those emergency powers. The guy is a tyrant.
Yes, definitely.
We want to follow the money. What happened with the money? Law and order, big deal for me. I'm a huge supporter of the cops. In California, we don't have one major elected official to come out and support our brave men and women of law enforcement. And instead, what they're doing is they've created what I call a criminal's paradise. They've swung the prison doors open. They won't issue cash bail, so somebody gets picked up, he goes in and says to the judge, I don't have money. Judge lets him right back out on the street, commit more crimes, many times never comes back again. We got something out there called Proposition 47, and this is great for all your viewers if you want to come to California. If you want to steal up to $950 at a shot, free. Today, tomorrow, next day, $950 today, $950 tomorrow. Move to California because we have a law in the books that lets you steal up to $950 at a shot and nothing happens to you. And so it's what I call a criminal's paradise. So when I have this job, if I get this job, and I'm the only non-politician in this race, I'm the only one who's never been on a government payroll, I will do whatever I can to reverse everything I just talked about. I will do whatever I can to change the narrative in the state to support our brave men and women of law enforcement again. But there should be no surprise while crime is going crazy. And another thing, Millie, you know, you may have heard about in California, we have these rogue DAs. We have this guy, George Gascon. He's a George Soros acolyte. Another one in San Francisco. And these guys should be the chief prosecutors, but they are the chief bender-overs to help criminals.
Right.
And the Attorney General is the chief, like I said, chief law enforcement officer of the state. All the DAs in the state, there are 58 of them, report up to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has the power pursuant to the California Constitution to take control of these prosecutions away from these rogue DAs. I'm going to do just that.
That's amazing.
And then, you know, a couple other things. I'm not shy about saying this. I say it all over. Antifa is an American terrorist organization.
Absolutely, yes.
And we need the Attorney General of our state to be able to say that. The guy's got the job now as a flat-out communist of Attorney General. So there's a lot going on. And then I got other issues. I mean, critical race theory is a huge issue for me, and I'll be happy to talk about that.
Well, I guess the other question I have for you is, you know, you talked a lot about draining the swamp, which is like desperately needed in California.
Desperately.
Okay, desperately. So that is like key. I think that's key for your constituents in California. But also, what do you, like from a legal standpoint, okay, Gavin Newsom has shut down, I mean, he's done some pretty draconian measures with these mandates, vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
So what from a legal standpoint could an attorney general like do if you win? What would you do?
Tell you what I do.
To help stop that?
Tell you what I do, Millie.
What?
First of all, I'm against the mandates. Listen, there's been flat-out tyranny going on in California the last 2 years. And of course I support the law, but I do not support tyranny. And what we've been living through is flat-out tyranny out there.
Right.
The Attorney General is not a legislator. The Attorney General is, runs the Department of Justice. So we can bring lawsuits, we can investigate. And I believe a number of things that Newsom is doing with the mandates are unconstitutional. I believe other laws that have come out of what I call the Politburo, which is our state legislature, which has been one-party rule for a long, long time. So I call it the Politburo. Statutes that are unconstitutional. And I want to look at a number of the laws, rules, and regulations that are coming out of our Politburo and out of Newsom's office to see if we can reverse them on constitutionality grounds, among other things. It's a rare day where an attorney general has to look inward at the state governor, at the state legislature for things coming out of the state that are harming the people. You know, usually the attorney general is there defending incoming from against the state.
Right.
And of course we'll do that as well. But we're living in that rare day right now. And I do not like Gavin Newsom. I call him an arrogant punk. I call him the low intelligence empty suit. I was the lead lawyer, by the way, for the recall team of Gavin Newsom. And those guys are running my campaign. Warren Heatley and Mike Netter. So
maybe if more attorney generals in California actually did look inwardly, we wouldn't be in the problem that we're in California, where there's so much corruption that it stinks to high heaven or high hell or whatever. And so I think what you're wanting to do here is desperately needed in California.
Let me tell you
something.
I get this
need to
job.
get behind this man.
I get this job. I'll be back here next year, and California will not be a communist country anymore, because we will start doing whatever we can to take it back. And as you can possibly hear, I'm not a politician. I'm not politically correct. We got to be tough again, and that's what I intend to do. And I'll tell you this, I'm speaking up and down the state. On my campaign, we're everywhere all the time, and I'm speaking to thousands and thousands of patriots around California. And this crosses the racial spectrum, it crosses the socioeconomic spectrum. People are done with what's going on out there, with this crime that's spiking and growing through the roof because of these policies of the other side.
Right.
With the infiltration of our schools by these people who are indoctrinating our kids, with the corruption, with the election, the questions about the election. And I know there are hundreds of thousands. I believe there are millions of people in California that are done with what's going on out there.
Absolutely.
The problem is we have all over the place, we have a mainstream media that believes and supports everything that this Politburo and this government there is doing, and they keep down the voices of the people, and they make the people believe that they are all alone in this, and they're not.
What are some things from like a legal standpoint that you think could be done in the school setting to protect our children from being politically indoctrinated? Because, you know, could you imagine if it were conservatives or the Republican Party trying to insert their political belief system into the education system? Currently, right now, you know, there's the environmental education curriculum that's like a big thing in California.
Well,
it's essentially Green Party politics. You have these progressive ideologies about gender studies being inserted into the school. What can be done from a legal standpoint to prevent this?
You're talking to the right guy about that,
Right.
Millie, because 4 years ago, I was contacted by these great group of people in Santa Barbara, California, which is about 2 hours north where I am in California. And they said to me, Eric, they're indoctrinating our kids in the school. They're brainwashing our kids to hate America. We've asked them for the materials. They won't give us the materials. So we formed a group called Fair Education Santa Barbara. And I was the lead lawyer. And I sued on their behalf the Santa Barbara Unified School District, the superintendent of schools, and one of these social justice warrior outfits to get their materials. Now, mind you, at that time, publicly, they weren't calling this critical race theory. At that time, they were calling it unconscious bias training. That is now being considered the first lawsuit ever brought in this country against critical race theory.
Oh, wow.
We got all the materials, all right, that they didn't want to show the parents. And then we published it for the entire county up there. And we were stunned at what we saw, frankly. Now we've seen these materials. Nobody had seen this stuff at the time. You know, all white people are oppressors. All brown people are victims. You know, Christianity is a myth. Faith is bad. Socialism is good. Capitalism is bad. Police are bad. And this sexually over-the-top stuff, you know, talking about starting in kindergarten, okay?
It's disgusting.
You know, it doesn't
Oh my
matter if you're
gosh.
born a boy or a girl. You can be anything you want to be. Starting to teach kids about transgenderism at the youngest ages. And this stuff has to be stopped. I'm the only candidate in my race who has a clue about this stuff. And these characters on the other side, and characters is putting it mildly, they like to tell us that this is not going on in our schools right now. This is going on in every public school in California as we speak, starting in kindergarten, going up through going up through college. This brainwashing is incredibly powerful. This brainwashing works. It's incredibly destructive.
Right.
And there should be no question in anybody's minds, and we all have these questions. Where did this woke crazies come from? Where did these BLMs and Antifas who hate our country come from? These are the victims of this brainwashing, this powerful, powerful brainwashing that teaches kids in school to hate America, divides kids by race in their class, such that little white kids are guilty about being white when they're beaten into their heads that their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents were all racist and structurally racist and oppressors and guilty of genocide. This is going on.
And it's so
And
wrong.
I will do everything I can as Attorney General of California to get this stuff out of our schools. I believe it's one of the top 3 most dangerous things in our nation. You know, these kids come out of these indoctrination camps. Their brains are shot. They repopulate the media. They repopulate the teaching ranks. They're moving their way into the courthouses. They've moved their way into the deep state. They've moved their way into certain parts of the military. This is, frankly, the greatest fight of our generation, is to get our kids' brains back. We can't let another generation have their brains sucked out of their heads. And so, you know, I will do whatever I can to follow the lead of the attorney generals in the red states that have gotten rid of this stuff. But this stuff is more powerful than anybody can imagine. And the other side, which are flat-out Marxists, are doing everything they can now to divert our attention, to make us believe it's not happening, to make us believe, oh, this is just Trump supporters trying to divide the nation. It's happening. It's real. It's got to be stopped. I mean, now in Florida and in Texas, they're trying to get these transgender studies out, and the mainstream media is going crazy, trying to put down the people, trying to stop that from happening. Listen, I don't care about anybody's sexual orientation, but our taxpayer dollars should not be being used to indoctrinate our kids with how they should think and must think about this stuff starting at the youngest ages. It should not be in our schools. So there's a lot I want to do. There's nobody in my race talking remotely about this stuff, and I've got huge grassroots support in the state of California.
Definitely. I mean, it sounds like I don't think I've heard too many people put it as well put as you explained it all, how the children are growing up, they're repopulating the workforce, and this is the vicious cycle, because then they become the teachers and they reinstill it.
So it's happening right now. Those are your teachers.
Right, and
radical
each generation gets more and more radical in that, and they're thinking it's more and more okay to push more Marxist, communist belief systems in the school, and this is how we lose our country, right?
Well, this is why we're in this battle of good versus evil we're in right now.
Right.
This stuff's been going on under the surface for decades, okay? For decades.
Definitely. Well, where can people find out more about you?
Right here on your show. No,
Right.
you can find out about me at ericearlyforca.com. ERICEARLYFORCA.com. Join our team. We got an incredible team. We're going to take this race, and like I said, next year I'll be back at CPAC, and we're going to be talking about how the walls of American Marxism in California are starting to be knocked down.
Wow, I mean, I'm really blown away. This is, Eric is a patriot. He's somebody that you definitely want to get behind. If you guys are out there in California, look into him, contact his campaign, get behind this man, because if we don't start electing patriots that are going to actively make moves to stop this incoming wave of communism and the takeover of our public education systems, the takeover of all of our rights, the forcing these mandates, forcing tyrannical draconian policies like Gavin Newsom has been doing. I mean, if we don't actually get behind patriots and get our butts off the couch, we will lose our country. So please go check out Eric Early and go check out his campaign so that we can get behind real candidates, patriots and Americans, to take back our country and to drain the swamp. Because that is one of the key things. You guys, if you live in California, you know how bad the swamp and the corruption is there. And, even what you think that is the tip of the iceberg. It is so bad. And I don't think that we should just abandon California. There's a lot of really good...
Do not abandon California. They've said for decades, as California goes, so goes the nation. And Gavin Newsom knows that. And he is a flat-out Marxist. We got to get back California so we can get back this nation. Go to ericearlyforca.com. I got a great campaign team. We're building a volunteer army up and down the state. The guys that led the recall movement against the arrogant punk. And like I said, I was the lead lawyer. They're running my campaign. This race can be won, folks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
All right,
thank
Millie.
you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with another interview very shortly. right, guys, so I'm back here. For those of you guys who are just now popping on this feed, we are doing live coverage here at CPAC 2022. I'm hosting out of the QUX booth. Now, for those of you guys who don't know about QUX, QUX is a TV box. It's its own electronic device. It is a competitor to Apple and Android in that it has its own operating system, its own hardware, firmware, kernel, and it is the sponsor of this booth, essentially, and it is the answer to the big tech tyranny, the big tech censorship. This is, the deplatforming is only going to get worse, all right? I've already talked about how, censorship with conservatives is on the rise, but it's only going to get worse as we get closer and closer to both this midterm election and to the presidential election in 2024. And look, we saw how in the last election season, how they started midterm, right after the midterms, really, they started their campaigning season like a year early. And I do anticipate that we will see campaign season start very early because 2024 is it's going to be a very heated election. I believe and I predict that we will see President Trump. He will be the one running, and I don't know if we'll see Biden running again for this next election. I mean, who knows if he'll even be alive. I don't know if we'll see Kamala instead or someone else, but I definitely do believe that Trump is going to run in 2024, and we're going to see more censorship, more deplatformings for conservatives. So it's important that you guys out there support real tech solutions, because if we only rely on Android, or if we only rely on Apple, look, Android, that's Sundar Pichai, Google, Sundar Pichai, right? Google Android. Tim Cook, Apple, right? Really, we want to put all of our eggs in those baskets? Or Microsoft with Bill Gates? No. This is why we need technology companies that are prioritizing and maintaining freedom of speech and standing strong against censorship. That is what is important here, okay? And that is what QUX is about. It's about free speech. They're anti-censorship. Anyone can be on it. It is not only just a device, an electronic device, right, that you plug into your television, but any one of you guys can actually create your own portal on Quix. So what is a portal? A portal is like a TV channel, but instead of just being like a regular TV channel you would see, where you click through the different various channels on your cable TV box, no, this is different. A portal can not only have like a live stream or live feed video content, but it could also have podcasts, it could have music, it could have merchandise where you could sell things in your portal, pictures, all kinds of things in your portals. And on the Quix box, private secure messaging. It has 256-bit end-to-end encryption in its own walled-off private secure network. It is very secure. It prioritizes security. Why? Because we're in a day and age where everyone's data is being mined, it's being farmed. They sell it to third-party companies. The third-party companies then, many of them, utilize this information to conduct psyops against the American people. They utilize this information and data to produce and create social credit score systems. I mean, it is that scary, guys. Think of it this way. If they know the data and information of every single American's phone, how easy would it be for them to use their AI models to predictively model election outcomes? And how valuable would that information be? And how vulnerable does that make our election process in America? They would know which counties need what votes where based on spying on everyone's cellular data in their phones. So this is why we need to get on electronics that don't allow spying, that protect privacy and security. This is a right in our country as Americans. We have the right to privacy and security. QUX recognizes that right as an American that you have. So please, guys, support conservative technology solutions. Technology solutions that, maybe QX isn't even conservative. It's just pro-American. How about that? American in that it represents freedom of speech. It represents privacy and security. It represents the free market where small businesses and big businesses can all flourish within its own private economy with private secure transactions. Go to QUX.tv to find out more about the QUX TV box. Also, you can buy a QUX TV box there right now. You can do an advanced pre-order. Your purchases help support electronics and help support the fight against big tech tyranny. All right, so we are going to be having more guests here, but I did want to let you guys know about that for those of you guys who haven't. And I'm going to be talking about, we did do a fundraiser, and many people actually helped us fundraise so we could afford this, this to be here at CPAC on this trick, and so that QUX could afford to have this wonderful booth here where we're broadcasting, we're interviewing people that are trying to get their information out. We're interviewing a lot of candidates, a lot of patriots that are running for office in districts that need to be overturned, districts that have swamp creatures, whether it be on the Democrat side or even maybe rhino swamp creatures. So, this is the message that I'm trying to bring here today, which is we need to fight back and we need to stand up against big tech tyranny. So I'm gonna go over some of the sponsors that helped make this possible, and I'm gonna give them a special shout out because you guys are the reason why we were able to do this. So I want to give you guys a special shout out, special thank you. So let's go here. All right. All right, so let's go to, so our first sponsor, a special thank you, is Joseph Santos of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, Joseph. We really appreciate your support. We have Sarah Cook of Worcester, Massachusetts. We have Mike Buff with Red, oh, how do I get this open? All right, so let's go here again. All right, so thank you so much to Sarah Cook of Worcester, Massachusetts, Mike Buff from Red Lion, Pennsylvania, Jason Robert from Orlando, Florida, Trevor Oxborough, Carson City, Michael Sullivan, Oakland, Christina Paskey from McKinney, Illinois, and Matt Astro from Omaha. Thank you guys for your support. It means the world to us. You guys are helping fight back against big tech tyranny. You're helping support a real tech solution so that we can have our own electronics, we can have privacy and security, and we can engage in free speech without fear of retaliation, fear of being banned, or fear of being suppressed, or shadow banned, or even fear of being doxxed or harassed. We have privacy and security on that platform. So thank you so much, guys, for your support. And I know that some of you guys asked that, some of these supporters here that financially contributed are part of the Tori Says group. So thank you so much to all of you guys there at the Tori Says group. I believe some of them were from Tori Says group in Nevada. So thank you guys from the Tori Says group. So, all right. I'm gonna go really quick. We're gonna pan out here to the crowd, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna be interviewing some more people. And after this, I might go ahead and jump right out and do some man on the street interviews, because as you can see, things are really getting busy here at CPAC 2022 because President Trump is scheduled to speak today. President Trump is scheduled to come on at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so you guys might want to make sure you tune in when President Trump speaks. But man, there are a lot of people here today at CPAC. There's a lot. So I will go ahead and step out and do some man on the street here in a little bit. And I'll be right back.
Okay, so we have the Stop Woke Act, that's critical race theory. We have bills on LGBTQ.
Okay, we'll just sit down and talk about it.
All right, good.
All right, guys, so I'm back, and we're here at CPAC 2022. We're here with Mark, what's your last name?
Severe.
Mark Severe, who you were telling me about how you guys are filing lawsuits.
We are.
Many lawsuits.
Many.
Against the culture war.
Yeah, we filed lawsuits on the topic of the culture war throughout the country on things like, like basically, I'll put it this way. So I went to law school, okay, was a judge advocate general and assistant United States attorney for a little while. And, you know, the question is, as a Christian conservative, I see the culture war played out, and what are the answers? I have no idea. So what do? We file lawsuits on the topic. What are we going to do about critical race theory or social media censorship or pornography online or prayer in school? And we file lawsuits on the topic. From the litigation, we put to paper bills that have a controlling constitutional basis and that also invoke constitutional authority, like controlling Supreme Court precedent. So if the bills are enacted, you know, if they're taken to the state representatives and drafted and introduced, and they pass out of the committee, they pass out of the floor, the governor signs it into law, the bills that we have on the culture war will not get struck down in court, and they have robust enforcement mechanisms. And so these bills can be found on specialforcesofliberty.com. We have legislation by state, so we're asking the listeners to please go to the website, go look under their state, okay? There's a map. They can click on their state on the map.
Right.
It'll take you right there. There's 7 bills. We have a bill called the Stop Woke Act. That will get rid of critical race theories from public schools in a way that will actually work, that has really robust enforcement mechanisms and will not be struck down. We have the School Establishment Clause Act. That will get rid of women's sports issues, okay? Men participating in women's sports.
Right, which isn't fair, okay?
It's not fair.
Look, I will admit, like, biologically, most men are stronger, faster. They have the way their hips are made. They can run faster because women have broader hips for childbearing. I mean, It's just not right to take those opportunities for scholarships away from women. When you want somebody who's biologically a male to be able to compete against biological females.
So that's self-evident. What you just made is a common sense argument.
Right.
But the problem is we don't live in a common sense republic. We live in a constitutional republic.
We live in a woke society,
well,
right?
we
woke
can,
culture.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of people that buy into secular humanism, that religion, moral relativism, which they have the right to believe in that pursuant to the free exercise clause. But what the government cannot do is it cannot entangle itself with the religion of woke, if you will. It cannot entangle itself with the religion of secular humanism because it violates the First Amendment Establishment Clause. So all the bills that we have, they're getting around things like Bostic, Obergefell, Supreme Court precedents, stare decisis, all these doctrines that are designed to twist things to keep us from doing common sense things. Your argument is exactly right. It's asinine that a guy and girl should be able to compete. Men and women are equal but different.
Right.
But we have to win. You have to frame the issue right. And we've done that as lawyers. We've done that. But what we need is your listeners, the local constituents, to go to the website, specialforcesliberty.com. Not because we want credit.
Right.
Not because we want donations. We don't care about any of that. We want to win. And if they want to win, go to the website, download the bill for their state, and send it through Facebook or email, or they can print it and show up at the state capitol. Find the members there, ideally members of the Judiciary Committee or Education Committee, but any of them, okay, and say, hand them the language, get them the language and say, you vote in that state and you want that to become law. If they will do that, you will stop social media censorship, you will get rid of the LGBTQ agenda through our government and getting in bed with that cult, you will get rid of the critical race theory stuff, you will successfully be able to protect children from pornography online, you will get prayer back in school. We have a bill called Kyle's Law. It's also called the Truth in Reporting Act. We smack the fake news media, which this network is not a part of, but others are, and they really are abusive. So if you want to win the culture war, you got to fight with the right weapons. We at Special Forces of Liberty create those weapons from the litigation, but we need their help. We need them to fight. It's kind of like Ukraine right now, right? Ukraine's in charge of fighting the Russians, but we are giving them weapons. In the instant case here, we're trying to give you the constituents who are listening here, to the weapons, which is the bills, Fortunately, it's not life and death, but in some sense it kind of is because, imagine the kid that gets seduced into buying into the LGBTQ ideology and they become a transgender and it affects the trajectory of their life because they were told it's medical science when it's not. It's religion. That's what it is.
Right, and we know that people who are transgender have extremely high rates of suicide.
No, absolutely. I mean,
it could be life and death.
Yeah, I mean, I have we'll be in court. We'll sue a library for hosting drag queen story time, all right? I have a lawsuit in D.C. right now against HHS to stop them from forcing doctors from providing transgender surgery that violates their conscience, okay? And the truth of the matter is, I'll be in court, I'll have thousands of testimonials from ex-gays saying that they bought into the worldview, that they were born this way, and they left it behind. But even us, we're not trying to prove or disprove whether or not homosexuality is immutable, or we're not trying to prove or disprove whether or not there's a gay gene. We're saying that it's not proven one way or the other, therefore it's a matter of religion, which then invokes two things, the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment and the Establishment Clause. The Free Exercise Clause means you can believe in it without being discriminated against. The Establishment Clause says the government cannot promote it, entangle it, or endorse itself with it because it violates the principles of separation of church and state.
Right, right.
So and all of this is like a game, okay? It's like putting together like a puzzle, so to speak. It's like defusing a bomb. When you have a bill like we have, if you have one sentence missing, it will get struck down. If you add one sentence to more, it will get struck down. The measures that we have to stop social media censorship, the measures that we have to wreck the gay agenda, the measures that we have to get rid of critical race theory, prayer in school, and so forth, they're written in a way that they're backed by so much controlling authority that even if the court attempted to strike it down, it would create so much bad precedent, it would wreck all kinds of other things.
Oh, there you go.
So
yeah. You guys are figuring it out and how to properly structure things to where it kind of forces them to acknowledge that, hey, these things, what they're doing is illegal. It's against the law.
That's right.
And it seems like it is. Like, I feel
You're
like
right.
so many parents, I'm a parent myself.
Yeah.
I have a son who's 6 going on 7, and he's in the school system, right?
Okay.
Like, I took him out to homeschool him because I'm so appalled with the public school system.
I understand.
But why shouldn't I be able to have him in there? Why shouldn't I be able to utilize that, right? And give my child an education experience where he's around a bunch of peers and people like that. Well, why are they able to do these things by putting critical race theory into schools, putting drag queen story hour inside kindergartens, allowing gender studies to be taught to our elementary school students? I mean, even like the parents that hear this, they're scratching in their heads like, how is this legal?
So that's right. Well, here's the reason it's legal is because the left has filed a bunch of silly lawsuits where they've weaponized the 14th Amendment. It's called Equal Protection Substantive Due Process Clause, and liberal judges have said, aha, yes. The reason why is because the 14th Amendment is the reason, but that is a lie. The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment is the controlling prescription for these topics. Now, let me say this in English so it's really easy to understand. So basically, you as a mom, right? Why? Like, to understand, like a simple argument would be, I'm a Christian, okay? And you say as a mom, you're a Christian, and you don't want the public school to have Christian Bible study for kindergartners because it would be, we want people to choose Christianity on their own, okay? You don't want to coercively impose your worldview. Likewise, you don't want the left to weaponize the government to go in and do drag queen story time with the government's stamp of approval to indoctrinate your kids and to their asinine worldview, which, by the way, promotes licentiousness objectively, and also, number 2, is a practice that's inconsistent with the peace and safety of the state, okay? So even if you have a religious worldview like homosexuality or polygamy is illegal right now because it promotes licentiousness and it's a practice inconsistent with the peace and safety of the state. So it's really about, it's common sense that these things are wrong. Like at CPAC, we're like, the left is bad. That's the story of CPAC, and I love CPAC. What's the solution? The solutions are the bills, like kinds of ones we have, that invoke controlling constitutional authority and cite controlling Supreme Court precedents based off of authority, okay? But we need it to be taken to the members by local constituents and ask them to draft it and introduce it.
Now, I guess I noticed that you are tackling education. You're tackling the gender studies and stuff, the drag queen story time, all that. Have you looked into any of the environmental education curriculum that they're putting into the schools? Because, in the environmental education, they literally are having Marxist communist ideologies being taught under the guise of, environmentalism, which environmentalism is a political party's platform, which is the Green Party.
Right.
So why is a political party being given license to indoctrinate children in the public school settings? In some schools in Oregon, I mean, it's mandatory. It's being made to be mandatory curriculum. What type of legal? I mean, I know this is off the top of your head and stuff.
No, it's fine.
But what type of a legal solution would there be as far as getting politics out of schools and the Green Party politics out of schools?
The question is the doctrine that's being advanced, is it secular or is it non-secular? Okay, so what that means, those are legal terms, okay? So if something's secular, it means it's natural, neutral, and non-controversial. Math is secular, okay?
Right.
Reading Pride and Prejudice, secular. I mean, most literary stuff, so it's Shakespeare, secular, okay? But when you're pushing something like environmentalism or LGBTQ or critical race theory or climate stuff, obviously, all of that stuff is not really medical science. It's what's called a series of unproven faith-based assumptions and naked assertions that are implicitly religious and inseparably linked to the religion of secular humanism.
Right.
And again, while individuals can believe in atheism if they want to, under the Free Exercise Clause, okay, they can believe in all that stuff, they cannot use government with taxpayer dollars, to impose that ideology, which is religious in nature, on children. So that's really the argument. One thing we do is we codify what's called the Lemon Test. That's a test we use in federal court to determine whether or not a policy is secular or non-secular, whether a government action violates the Establishment Clause. It's a three-pronged test, and things like critical race theory, LGBTQ, or environmental stuff, some environmental stuff might be secular, but a lot of it might not be.
Right.
Okay,
right.
And even with sex education, for example, we don't mind if there's this pretty nasty sex education curriculum out there, as long, at the very least, parents should be able to opt in or opt out. Okay, it shouldn't be mandatory, but even that could be curtailed, especially if it's violating obscenity codes.
Right. I mean, I know that they try to, as far as with all the climate change nonsense, they try to say, oh, it's science-based, but then there's other scientists that come out with conflicting studies and reports, and so it's not, I don't know if it's completely settled, but the idea of global warming, right, they used to say, oh, global warming, and then they say global cooling, and then now it's global, so they keep changing it back and forth, which kind of makes it seem like it's just a theory or maybe a belief system or religion. And so to make it so in this environmental curriculum that they have to say, the teachers have to say that there's climate change and that there's CO2 levels rising and global warming or whatever, and teach that to children in schools, to me it just seems like it would be wrong and illegal on any way, shape, or form. I mean, if you had the Republican Party trying to push their political ideas through the vector of some other, like how they have environmental curriculum, I could see them standing up, suing over it, going hog wild over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. I mean, once again, all religion is a set of answers to the unproven, the greater questions, like why did we get here? What should we be doing or not doing as humans, and what happens after death, all right? A lot of the left is just moral relativism. They bank their entire identity that there is no moral absolute, which is a moral absolute. Okay, their whole worldview is that truth is a man-made convention, and they want to use government, basically converted into their own church, to coercively impose their worldview on the rest of us, in hopes that they feel less adequate and ashamed about a worldview that naturally makes people feel inadequate and ashamed, okay? Right. Now, again, they can believe in it, right? If they want to believe in the sun monster, and they want to believe that critical race theory is a real thing, or LGBT people can be born in the wrong body, they can. But like you were saying before, what we do in court, we bring in experts and we say, Your Honor, life begins at conception. And they bring in experts and say, no, it doesn't. And we bring in experts and say, Your Honor, gay stuff, there is no gay gene. I have all these medical experts saying that. Then they bring in experts and say, yes, there is. And then we go, okay, well, the bottom line is this. It's not proven or disproven, so therefore it's religion. So what applies? What part of the Constitution? Because you can make common sense arguments all day long, and that's a good thing, okay?
Well, I would think all you'd need to do is bring in a set of identical twins. One's gay, one's not. It's all right, settled.
Well,
it's the same DNA. One is, one isn't.
Right, or we'll be dealing with a lot of that former transvestites or gays, and they're like, I was gay, I believed I was gay, I was leading the gay parade march, and I've left it behind. So you're saying I don't exist? Like, literally, that's what you're saying, is I'm not real? Like, now you're discriminating against them in a really material way, all right? So, again, it's really simple in a way of, it's a balancing act of the free exercise clause and the establishment clause, understanding that the left is a religion. It's organized, it's full, it has an ultimate concern. I'm quoting basically cases what define what a religion is. So if you want to get it out of the schools, you need the state legislatures to run the kind of bills that we have, frame it as religion, which then will allow the enforcement mechanism. So here's something that's really good to know. If you frame something as religion, it's the one area of the law where taxpayers have standing to sue to enforce the law, okay?
Right,
So you as a mom, if we pass, the bill that, one of the bills in the state that you live in, then, and you want to send your son back to school, or even if you can't because you're being held hostage because they're going to indoctrinate him, you would have Article 3 standing now to sue pursuant to the statute, where you could seek an injunction and you could get attorney's fees. So what that means is local lawyers will represent you for free.
Oh, that's
and
good.
Yeah, because they would be able to, when you sue and you win, they're going to get paid by the school. Plus, it really embarrasses the school, and above all, they don't want to be embarrassed. And so there's a lot of people going to school boards and they're complaining, and that's good. And they're making common sense arguments, or they're doing petitions.
But we have to fight back legally.
If you want to win, I like to win. And I want to stop the left because it is evil what they're doing. I want men and women to come together and get married and stay married. I don't want people aborting their children. I don't want people turning down the gay path or buying into this critical race theory world where they're just basically a hateful spirit everywhere they go. I don't want that for them. I do want them the ability to choose a path of their own. I don't want the government to coercively, but there's a lot of practices like child sacrifice, that are illegal because even though it might be religious in nature, right? It's still a practice that's inconsistent with the peace and safety of the state.
Well, it's illegal to kill anyone. It's illegal to harm a child. I mean, these are laws, so it doesn't matter about that religious thing, belief. You're not allowed to do some Satan ritual and kill a child. That's against the law. So, they can try to say, religious beliefs, but hey, you can't do that.
Basically, how you reverse Roe versus Wade? I love the guys from Mississippi that wrote that bill. I'm really good friends with them in the Dobbs versus Jackson case. The guys that wrote the bill, it's been sued, now it's in court. Okay, and basically, Roe versus Wade came about because the left filed some bogus, stupid lawsuit where they weaponized the 14th Amendment, and the court, they went before leftist judges, and the judges go, yes, abortions are right under the Constitution because they've invoked the Constitution. We're seeing that it is, okay? The way you get around that precedent is, it's called stare decisis. The way you get around it is you frame abortion as religion. You invoke a different part of the Constitution. There's a stare decisis, this thing called, once the Supreme Court's made a decision, it's done. There's two ways to overdo that. Number one, in the past case of controversy, if the Supreme Court just merely interpret the Constitution, like they did in Obergefell, like they did in Roe versus Wade, it's at its weakest. And then number two, in those prior cases, if there was another constitutional question lurking in the shadows that was undecided upon by the court, if the issue is reframed and that under that prescription, and it goes before the court, stare decisis does not apply at all. Okay, so again, the Dobbs versus Jackson case involves a situation where the Supreme Court is being asked to overturn Roe versus Wade because it was a dumb decision. That's not how you get around stare decisis. The state legislatures need to frame abortion issues as religion, and therefore, by doing that, it will invoke the Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause. And so here's how you regulate, here's how you reverse Roe. You basically say you have the constitutional right to believe in the rights of abortion, but because it's number one, the Free Exercise Clause is not absolute. Back to child sacrifice. Sorry, that was a long way to get back to that. But so child sacrifice might be a religious belief for some people, or there's a famous case where this guy from Vietnam kills his wife because she did X, Y, and Z, and under his religious worldview, he was allowed to do that, but he was in America, and we don't care about his religious worldview because if it's a religious practice, like modern-day child sacrifice on the altar of convenience, convenience abortion. Now, I'm not talking about abortion that's secular, which rape, incest, or the mother's life's in danger. I'm talking about convenience abortion. A mother just wants to get rid of her child, okay, in the womb. Well, because it's a practice that promotes licentiousness, and because it's an attempt to justify practices that are inconsistent with the peace and safety of the states, the government has a compelling interest to make it illegal if they want to, and that's how, or prohibit it if they want to. Having a bill that's structured like that will reverse Roe in a way the courts will have to uphold that. Okay, a lot of confusing stuff, but it's
no. I mean, it's really interesting, and I definitely see where you're coming from and how this is why it's so important that the pen is mightier than the sword. We have to have legal actions, legal teams of lawyers going out and actually fighting these legal battles because you guys know all the loopholes, you know how to word everything, you know how to go after it in a way that where it's going to be a victory, essentially, and you're going to be able to accomplish the goal that you want to accomplish, which at the end of the day, that's in this one example is saving the lives of unborn children so that they're not being killed.
It takes a big village. So, for example, you're speaking out passionately about these issues. You're raising awareness to them. You're identifying problems. That's vitally important, okay? Then people like us are, we know this area because we went to school for it. Not because we're special, not because we're smart. It's because we were trained in that, all right?
Right.
So then we know how to put it to paper, but then your listeners, we're imploring them to go to the websites, download, get the weapons that we have, and send it to their state members. Email it to them. Print it off and go to the state capitol and find them and give it to them and say, I want you to run this. They will appreciate that a lot because, again, a lot of times they deal with people just come up there and complain. They don't have anything to offer.
Right.
We have the weapons, but they want to hear from us. They like us. They want us to come and testify, but not really. They want the local constituent to ask them to do it because a lot of them have been really conditioned that I'm supposed to run bills for my constituents. Does that make sense? And so
yes,
you want to give them cover. Plus, for people like us, we are always over the target. We are so dangerous to the left that we are demonized like you would not believe. This is why I wrote the Truth in Reporting Guide. I've been accused of everything you could imagine, but the good news is that it's so implausible that none of it is real.
Well, yeah, that's just how they work. They color their enemies with, demeaning words and slurs, and they paint you as this horrible bigot.
They bring false. They bring fake lawsuits. The IRS will investigate you. We are at our level. We're getting fake investigations. We're getting George Soros DAs coming after us. I'm getting judges trying to think of ways to throw us in jail. We get $25,000 sanctions and blah blah blah. It's because we are over the target, and they know it. Yeah, but once again, it's not just Christian conservative lawyers that have pure motives that we need. We do need a lot of that, but we just need local moms taking them the bills. We need
people just getting up and taking action. Guys, look, I know we do this a lot. We sit around and we complain about, oh, isn't this so horrible what's happening, or oh, the schools, the critical race serial, these innocent babies being aborted. We complain about it, but it's like, this is our opportunity to do something, and if we all just get up and do something, we will win, we will be effective. And look, I know a lot of you guys are sitting at home and you're like, well, how can we do something? What can we do? Because, I cover a lot of these issues, these exact issues that you brought up on my show. And everyone, people ask me, Millie, what can we do? How can we help, stop this? What can we do? Do we need lawyers? And I know some groups have tried to get together and do some legal crowdsourcing and going after certain things, and they've been kind of successful with some of the mask mandates and things. But this is just another way that you guys can actually take action and do something by helping out these legal groups that are going to be taking action and know how to win these legal battles. They just need your support. So go ahead and tell people where they can find you and how they can support your organization of lawyers so that really and truly these guys can be our champions and win these fights for us. So specialforcesofliberty.com, and I loved everything you just said because you're identifying the problem. I'll be honest, I love CPAC. I haven't really I love Matt Slab. I love his fan. I love everything about all this stuff. Right.
But I haven't gone to many of the lectures because I know what they're going to say. The left is bad. Wow. Good to know. What's the solution?
Exactly.
So we
have to be solutions.
Are only here to provide solutions. Okay. And you can go to specialforcesofliberty.com. You can go and download the language for your state, read the bills. There's some videos that explain some of the bills. The problem is we keep tweaking things because it's like diffusing a bomb. So they might change just a little bit, but you can get the general overview from those videos and download the language, send it to your members. And okay, I'll say this. We don't care about credit. We don't care about donations. But if you want to donate to us, it does help, all right? But I want to emphasize that is not why we are doing this. Okay, I don't ever want to make everything for us about we are trying to profiteer in this area. No, we are trying to stop the left because they've got to be stopped.
Absolutely. We have to protect our children, guys.
Amen. Yeah.
It's gross and disgusting what's happening in the schools. We need to stop it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Christopher Severe. Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
Thanks for that. That was good, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Here's my card or whatever. If you have questions on any topics, you can always reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a card too, or?
Yeah. There's one right over there. Just tap the guy. Tap the guy in the red hat and say, "I need a card of Millie's."
Because right now, like what I just did was just talk generally. But if you're like, explain to me how, as a mom, right? You have a kid that's 6 or something.
Yeah. I have a 6 going on 7. He's in 1st grade, and then I have a 3-year-old.
Okay. Okay. All right. So if you were like, explain, I want to know how to protect my children from pornography.
Right.
Legislatively, like I could break that down.
Right.
Or how do you stop social media? Break down that law. I could break them down.
Right.
I don't really go into breaking them down, but the language is there. There's videos that kind of do that.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. I'll contact you.
Yeah. If you ever need anything.
Definitely, because I might be able to help direct you to some groups of people that are like grassroots.
We need that. Yeah.
That are like a bunch of moms and a bunch of like. A lot of them are women who have time on their hands while their husbands are at work.
Which is what the legislatures are afraid of.
Right.
Because a lot of
all the
them
soccer moms who
Right.
right?
Well, yeah, because a lot of the legislatures, they don't really know what they're doing either.
Right.
They're not lawyers. They didn't go First Amendments of police restricted means. They don't know any of that stuff. President. But if you have moms figuring out this is really good and bringing it to them, if they don't do it, the people bringing it to them will start learning.
Definitely.
I might run and pass this bill. Okay, yeah. Okay.
then also we can talk about freedom. It's about the value of freedom too. So
All right.
whatever you're good with. It's your
Okay.
show, not mine.
We're here with Wyatt from Freedom Link USA.
Yeah, Freedom Link USA.
All right, we're here with Wyatt, and Wyatt, you were telling me about how you created this group, right, where you guys are working with pro-patriot payment processors, and you guys are kind of helping all these small businesses. And tell us more about this.
Yeah, so we're out of Orange County, California. We're nationwide, so it doesn't matter where you are in the country. So we've just actually recently launched. We're just hitting the ground running.
Right.
So what we've done is we've actually partnered with a very established payment processor in the country. And so it's this really niche deal, just a great blessing for us and for small businesses. And that any business that joins through us, if they want to use the service, they don't have to. It's a free service. Freedom Link USA is absolutely free for any business, any American, any person, any community group that wants to join. But what it is that as a small business, if you want to join the payment processing, our payment processing plan, essentially is we'll show you send us a couple statements, we'll show you how much you can save. If you want to, we move forward, and so it can save you money, hundreds, thousands of dollars a year, doesn't matter. And then that's the only way we make money. So we really are here to support small businesses. We're here to save them money. We're here to connect them with Americans that want to support them. Especially right now where it's so important that you have these big tech companies and big companies in general that are espousing values that aren't about freedom and aren't about American values. And they're really using freedom as a political tool when freedom at the end of the day is a value that should not be politicized or should be used. It's a blessing.
Definitely. And we're seeing how more and more people or businesses are being targeted for their political beliefs. So does your company kind of help in a way, if people were to work with your company that own small businesses, would they be protected in some kind of way?
Yeah, so actually what's great is this really started out of being very communal and very grassroots, and the business part we associated a little later. But it's really the spearhead of our business right now, of our movement right now. Hey, we need to help small businesses, especially after COVID-19 with all these small businesses shutting down. I think that really touched my team and I on the direction of where we want to take this company and how we can really be the bedrock of freedom in America over time. So with protecting small businesses, the great thing is that you don't see this group of small businesses in America that simply just want to run their business, don't want to be taxed out of resistance, and want to be protected, God forbid, if they get rioted or stolen from or what have you.
Right.
And we don't have that, right? Anything we do have, it's a little more political than need to be. And we're not here to politicize businesses. We're here to simply keep them free, to fight for them, to fight for their right, to fight for individuals' rights to run their business, right, to make money off of it, hire who they want to hire, whatnot, and to save them money. Because at the end of the day, these small businesses are struggling right now at the behest of really a government that is trying to take more money from them and from these large corporations that are doing anything they can to kill the competition.
Right.
So we are protecting them in one, building this community around them, two, protecting their transactions so they won't be dropped from these payment processors for what they believe in or simply voting differently, right? And then also as we do that more, what we're offering is potential for legal aid, so potential to help pay for legal aid for you, potential to help pay for financial aid for you. And just if I can, a quick little story. I don't remember the man's name. I don't remember the name of the bar. I believe it was in Minnesota or Michigan, one of the two states. This firefighter, his whole life he was to own a bar. He owned a really cool bar, and unfortunately what happened was under the COVID lockdowns, during the whole George Floyd riots, right, which were justified all too much, put it that way. It was burned down. It was ruined.
Wow.
And within a week, if I'm not mistaken with the timeline, he took his own life. Right?
Man.
And even if I knew the man's name, I wouldn't say it anyways because I'm not, I don't want to blast his name out there. But the fact of the matter is that really touched our hearts as a team. That really touched my heart as the founder of Freedom Link USA. And I thought, what if there was a business or an organization that was here to simply support small businesses, save them money, and could give them the support where, I could somehow, or one of us on our team could call them up and say, hey, we saw what happened to you. This is horrible. What do you need? Here's a blank check to help you get your business up and running.
Right.
And obviously we're new, we're building our resources, everything, but one of our main goals is to get to the point where we can reach out to small businesses and simply help them for free. Because that's what America needs, and that is really the altruistic spirit of America that we're founded on that we're really missing nowadays.
Right. So how do you go about helping them for free?
Well, so again, the only way we make money is by saving businesses money. So, like you kind of introduced in the beginning, we partnered with an established payment processor, one of the largest ones in the country, where they're going to guarantee lower the payment processing rate of these businesses, and then we just have a small revenue share deal with them. Right? So we're very transparent about that because it's like our platform's free. We're not charging you for, it's indefinite marketing and advertising. We're not charging for marketing or advertising.
Right.
We're not selling your information as well, which some companies do, and it's kind of a dirty little secret they won't discuss.
Right.
So we want to just be open with like, hey, but what we're doing with a lot of the money that we're taking in is we're reinvesting it back into these businesses, especially as we grow too, and we have more opportunity to do it more for them, and back into communities as well, like with community groups, for example. So there's a whole roadmap that we have laid out upon us to really help Americans and really orient ourselves to be hopefully the backbone of the freedom movement in America, not the political freedom movement, because freedom's not political, it's a value.
Definitely. All right, well, tell people where they can find out more about you and your business.
Yeah, so you can find us at freedomlinkusa.com. Again, it's completely free. You can sign yourself up to keep updated. You can sign your business, link your business, keep updated. And then we'll contact you, or you can link your community group as well. It's all quick, free, and easy. We want to help small businesses save money. You don't have to be part of that payment process or part of the platform. We simply want to help keep America free. Come follow us on social media as well. We're on Choose Social now too, so come find us there too. Instagram, Facebook, all the fun ones.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on here. And all right, guys, we're going to be going for a little bit of a break, and we'll be back on probably in about an hour or so. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys are checking back at my YouTube channel, Facebook channel, or my Twitch channel. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to all the sponsors that helped make this happen. You guys literally rock. You guys are the type of patriots that we need in this country. We need people who help vote with their wallets and help support patriot groups and organizations. So once again, special thank you to Joseph Santos, Sarah Cook, Mike Buff, Jason Roberge, Trevor Oxborough, Michael Sullivan, Christina Paskey, Matt Astrop, and of course, those of you guys from the Tory Sets group. So thank you so much. We will be back at CPAC 2022 shortly. And remember, guys, this is the big day. President Trump is going to be speaking around 7 p.m. All right, so this is Millie Weaver signing off for now. Remember to